A gentle breeze drifts through an open window, heralding a new morning. A young man sits on the edge of his bed, slowly coming to his senses. His eyes snap open with sudden, shocking realization. He gazes out at a sprawling fantasy city, questioning his own reality. The truth hits him. He woke up 3 years ago as a character inside a video game. That game was the notoriously difficult Heroic Legends of Arhan. Its story is packed with turbulent events and dangerous incidents in a magical academy. The plot only escalates, eventually leading to a world-threatening apocalypse. Despite the sheer, terrifying scale of the story's conflicts, he remains unbothered. He cheerfully decides to leave all the world saving to the game's actual main character. He was just a disposable extra named Korin Lok, a level 1 NPC from the tutorial. But in this world, everything felt incredibly real, designed to follow a set narrative. He decides to go find the game's protagonist, Sihu Park, who is destined for greatness. Suddenly, he overhears a man in a uniform complaining about his frustrating specs. Korin is stunned, knowing the word specs doesn't belong in this game's vocabulary. The mysterious man rises with a dark aura, declaring he will now live only for efficiency. In a flash, Korin grabs the man's hand, stopping his dramatic declaration. Korin excitedly reveals he shares the same goal, realizing this man must be Sihu Park from Earth. The only difference between them was Sihu's destiny as a legendary hero who slays dragons. He was fated to become an overpowered protagonist, standing victorious over his fallen enemies. As the main character, Sihu had a special stat window, but he had no idea what to do with it. Fortunately, Korin was an expert, ready to guide Sihu on the most efficient path to power. He proudly declared himself a Titanium Core player, a true master of the game. The secret knowledge he held would serve as an incomparable advantage for the protagonist. But as he celebrated his genius plan, a monstrous beast lunged from the darkness. The sudden ambush caught both of them completely off guard. Sihu reacted instantly, summoning a shadowy weapon to block the creature's deadly strike. After neutralizing the threat, he coolly turned to check on his new, vulnerable guide. Korin, far from scared, was thrilled by the action and signaled he was ready for more. They charged forward as a team, but Korin was painfully aware of his own limitations as a mere extra. Sihu expertly dispatches Shadow Beast with his staff while Korin provides close-quarters support. Korin smirks, knowing his unparalleled knowledge of the game is their ultimate advantage. This knowledge, combined with Sihu's immense power as the main character, creates an unstoppable synergy. Korin brings his blade down in a devastating final strike, perfectly synchronized with Sihu's magic. Their flawless coordination proves they are an incredibly effective and lethal team. He envisions them standing victorious, having saved the world and secured their path back to Earth. After the fight, Korin casually presents Sihu with a valuable potion, impressing the hero. Yet as he savors their success, Korin realizes there's a single, glaring flaw in his grand scheme. A frustrating question begins to form as he looks back on all their accomplishments. He's exasperated to find that every powerful ally they've recruited on their journey has been a man. He recalls that the original game was supposed to include several beautiful and powerful heroines. But Sihu, focused solely on efficiency, ignored all romantic subplots, creating an all-male team. Korin sighs in frustration, lamenting their team's complete lack of female companionship. He starts connecting the dots, remembering how the Grand Swordmaster's granddaughter was mysteriously eliminated. Then there was the disappearance of Murray, the first major boss who vanished without a trace. A pattern of baffling deaths and disappearances had been altering the game's original story. All these events felt like artificial and deliberate changes to the world's narrative. But the most significant change of all was the very mindset of the protagonist, Sihu Park. Sihu's outward personality seemed calm and heroic, masking his true intentions. Korin finally grasps the terrifying truth about Sihu's hidden nature. But the realization comes far too late. Korin recoils in disbelief, recalling that Marie Dunarif was a key heroine in the game. He's stunned to find her signature staff, a legendary hidden piece, displayed like a trophy. He had secretly followed Sihu, discovering a hidden chamber that wasn't in the original game. The horrifying truth dawns on him. This isn't a dungeon, but Sihu's personal, real-life inventory. He then spots the Demon Slayer blade, an item that only appears after another heroine's death. The collection continues with Jaeger's mace, another relic from a fallen character. Lark's spellbook is also here, confirming a pattern of items from those who vanish. His blood runs cold as he looks up at a figure suspended in a strange, crimson chamber. He sees a woman, bound and floating inside the device, a sight that paralyzes him with fear. With sickening certainty, he recognizes the captive as the long-disappeared heroine, Marie Dunarif. Korin's mind freezes in terror as he realizes he's been caught by the very person he was investigating. Sihu turns to face him, his expression one of pure annoyance at the unwelcome discovery. When confronted about his lies, Sihu coldly dismisses Marie's humanity, labeling her a mere demon. He justifies his cruelty by explaining her unique essence is too valuable a resource to squander. The hero smugly clarifies that he is simply putting the captured heroine to a more efficient use. A horrifying realization dawns on Korin as Sihu reminds him that he also partook in the spoils. He flashes back to the moment he drank the valuable potion, now understanding its gruesome origin. Nausea overwhelms him as the sickening truth of what he consumed sinks in. Sihu looks down on him with disappointment, complaining about how difficult the heroine was to finally capture. Devastated and enraged, Korin struggles to comprehend the depths of the hero's monstrous betrayal. Sihu coldly criticizes Korin's methods, claiming his own are far more efficient for clearing the game. He points out Korin's foolishness in saving useless people and sparing obstacles like Jaeger and Lark. He then boasts that he's the true veteran player, knowing the most efficient way to utilize every NPC. The devastating truth hits Korin. Sihu was never a novice, and has been deceiving him from the very beginning. With glowing eyes, Sihu casually calculates his kill count, mentioning he's just 3 away from a goal. The hero chillingly reveals his target is 100,000, confirming Korin's fear that he's dealing with a monster. Overcome with pure fury, Korin's face twists in anger at the monstrous revelation. He lunges forward, grabbing the so-called hero, who calmly reminds Korin of his own kills in this world. Korin furiously argues that he only ever targeted irredeemable villains, who threaten the world itself. He seethes with rage, unable to comprehend how anyone could justify such atrocities for mere efficiency. Korin slams the hero against a wall, questioning his illogical actions and hypocritical claims of efficiency. He points to the captive heroine, arguing this entire sadistic setup is the opposite of the efficiency Sihu preaches. Korin furiously accuses Sihu of being a monster who only wanted victims to satisfy his twisted urges. In a sudden reversal, Sihu forcefully seizes Korin's arm, silencing his accusations. With immense strength, Sihu violently throws Korin across the secret chamber. Korin skids helplessly across the floor, completely overwhelmed by the hero's raw power. He looks up, bruised and bleeding, shocked by the sheer brutality of the person he once called a friend. As Sihu calmly approaches, Korin pleads with him. Unable to believe this is happening after everything they've been through, Sihu looms over him, revealing a dark, possessive obsession and demanding Korin's absolute focus. With glowing purple eyes, Sihu declares that he will no longer hold back his true, terrifying power. Korin is left utterly speechless, struggling to comprehend Sihu's twisted declaration. He points out how this sudden change completely contradicts the character Sihu has played for so long. Sihu reveals he eliminated everyone who stood in their way, all for a future he envisioned with Korin. The hero then makes a chilling confession, dismissing everyone else as mere distractions. In a fit of horrified rage, Korin rejects the confession with a powerful punch. His fist connects squarely with Sihu's jaw, sending the obsessed hero reeling. Terrified by the turn of events, Korin makes a desperate dash for the exit. But Sihu is far from finished, unleashing shadowy tendrils to pursue him. The dark energy quickly ensnares Korin's leg, halting his escape. He is violently hoisted into the air, completely trapped by Sihu's terrifying power. The shadowy tendrils tighten their grip, constricting Korin with immense pressure. He struggles helplessly as the dark energy drags him back toward the obsessed hero. Sihu halts his prey, coldly declaring his intent to imprison Korin forever and claim him. Looming over him with a terrifying aura, Sihu reiterates that Korin now belongs to him. Korin finds himself bound by heavy chains as Sihu calls him the only real person in a world of fakes. He screams in defiance, utterly horrified by the depth of Sihu's twisted obsession. Unfazed, Sihu calmly prepares a massive spell, promising their conflict will soon be over. A chilling smile spreads across his face as he envisions them being together for all eternity. The world around them dissolves into a dark, digital sea as a system message announces the final stage. Floating in the strange abyss, Korin grimly accepts that the selfish hero will likely conquer this final challenge as well. Korin floats helplessly, dreading the eternal imprisonment that awaits him after Sihu's victory. Suddenly, a system message flashes, announcing a player's death and a failed challenge. He sinks into the abyss, utterly bewildered that the seemingly invincible hero has somehow been defeated. The darkness gives way to a sunlit room as a gentle breeze rustles the curtains. Korin gasps awake in a bed, his heart pounding from the phantom memories of his ordeal. He springs to his feet, frantically trying to make sense of his sudden change in surroundings. Looking out the window, he recognizes the city and realizes he has been sent back in time. He stares at his hands, confirming he's returned to the day he first arrived 3 years prior. A surge of resolve courses through him as he clenches his fist with newfound purpose, gritting his teeth with grim determination. Korin vows to change the horrifying future he just escaped. With tears of rage, Korin's new mission becomes crystal clear. He must kill Sihu Park. His mind flashes back to a past tragedy, the sudden collapse of the Lotheon River's dam. He remembers the devastating flood that wiped out an entire village and countless water demons. Amidst the chaos and death, Sihu had worn a wide, unsettling grin. Back then, Korin was simply horrified, unable to comprehend his friend's reaction. He now realizes Sihu was celebrating the massive experience points gained from the tragedy he likely caused. This memory connects to the chilling moment Sihu revealed his goal of 100,000 kills. Understanding this is his one opportunity, Korin bolts out of the room to intercept him. He knows that at this point in time, Sihu is still a beatable, 5th-tier player. Korin must stop the hero before he enters Merkava Academy and becomes unstoppable. Korin sprints through the woods, aware that Sihu's power will skyrocket once he enters the academy. He briefly pauses his desperate dash to focus on a patch of mushrooms. Without hesitation, he rips one from a log, knowing this is his only chance. His eyes glow with grim resolve, confirming the time to act is now. A system window details the tutorial quest, protecting a broken-down carriage from monsters. He arrives to see the guards, Leon and Laura, commending a rookie after felling a beast. That rookie is a young, charming Sihu who humbly accepts their praise with a wink. Korin watches from the shadows as Sihu stands casually, the very picture of a harmless hero. A coachman suddenly calls out, announcing that the carriage repairs are finally complete. The guards celebrate, ready to head to the city and get some much-needed rest. Just as they relax, a terrifying roar echoes from the darkness, startling the guards. A massive projectile suddenly hurtles through the air directly at them. Leon acts fast, shoving Laura out of the projectile's destructive path. The object slams into the ground with devastating force, narrowly missing its target. The two guards quickly recover, drawing their swords and preparing for the unseen enemy. A hulking, 2nd-tier demonic beast known as a Beowulf emerges from the shadows. The monster unleashes another deafening roar, radiating an intimidating aura of power. Hidden nearby, Korin clenches his teeth in frustration, realizing he's already behind schedule. He curses his timing, knowing he arrived too late to prevent the ambush. Korin watches helplessly as another beast strikes, wishing he'd had more time to prepare and intervene. The Beowulf roars triumphantly over the fallen Laura, leaving Leon horrified. Sihu steps up, telling the panicked guard to get everyone to the carriage while he buys them time. He pushes the coachman toward the vehicle, insisting they escape while he and Leon handle the threat. Laura protests leaving her partner, but the wounded guard weakly urges them to flee. From the darkness, Korin watches Sihu calmly face the towering, glowing-eyed monster. The young hero lands gracefully on his feet, sword held ready for a counterattack. Korin's eyes narrow as he questions if Sihu is the world's prophesied savior, or he considers if Sihu is another player from Earth just like himself. A sinister smirk spreads across Sihu's face, his eyes glowing red as he sizes up his massive opponent. The demonic beast unleashes a final, deafening roar, its single eye blazing with fury. A mysterious swordswoman suddenly descends from the sky, her blade aimed squarely at the beast. Her powerful strike collides with the Beowulf's jaw, but the monster holds its ground. The woman is stunned, unable to believe her attack was completely nullified. She skids to a halt as Sihu moves up beside her, preparing to join the fight. From his hiding spot, Korin recognizes her as Arisha Aiden, a powerful noble and swordmaster. He knows she's a crucial character with immense potential, a key future ally. Korin's hand tightens on his own weapon, recalling a secret opportunity hidden within this quest. He was afraid he'd be too late to seize this one perfect chance. In a flash, Korin lunges past the monster, his glowing blade aimed not at the beast, but at a shocked Arisha. His weapon finds its mark, leaving Sihu frozen in disbelief at the sudden, brutal betrayal. Sihu's eye burns with rage as he finally recognizes the face of his old friend, Korin. The wounded swordswoman stares at Korin, completely bewildered by the unprovoked attack. As Arisha stumbles back, Korin offers a flimsy excuse that his hand simply slipped. A sinister grin spreads across Korin's shadowed face, revealing his true, malicious intentions. The momentary distraction ends as the Beowulf lets out a furious roar, refocusing the battle. Arisha clutches her chest, the poison from Korin's blade already starting to take effect. Korin recalls the hidden quest objective. Arisha's death lets a player claim her sword and recruit a stronger ally. Sihu engages the beast as Korin notes the poison wasn't enough to kill the resilient swordmaster. Despite her injury, Arisha leaps back, trying to regain her composure and assess the situation. Surrounded by a dark aura, she readies her stance, preparing to fight through the poison's effects. Arisha closes her eyes, desperately trying to concentrate and fight off the poison's effects. Her eyes snap open, now blazing with a brilliant blue aura of untapped power. A torrent of energy erupts from her, transforming her into a silhouette of pure, focused intent. The empowered swordswoman fearlessly confronts the roaring Beowulf, ready for a decisive clash. Korin watches with cold calculation, realizing Arisha might actually defeat the beast by herself. Unwilling to let his plan fail, he reveals another glowing dagger with a sinister grin. He flicks the weapon through the air, sending a second projectile straight at the preoccupied swordmaster. Arisha expertly parries the surprise attack, her blade deflecting the dagger just in time. Her eyes narrow with fury as she confirms Korin's betrayal was intentional all along. This brief distraction, however, creates a fatal opening for the lunging Beowulf. The Beowulf's massive claw swings down with terrifying speed. Arisha, fueled by her newfound power, desperately parries the monster's relentless assault. Despite her efforts, the beast's brutal series of strikes completely overwhelms her defenses. The swordswoman is sent flying, her body limp and her expression one of utter disbelief. As she lies defeated, Korin stands over her, his blade ready. While she struggles to understand his betrayal, Korin erupts in a triumphant craze, celebrating the acquisition of the legendary Demon Slayer's sword. He calmly assesses his new weapon, acknowledging its limitations but dismissing them for now. A new, chilling thought crosses his mind as he gazes into the dark woods. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he considers the potential rewards for killing NPCs. With a predatory glint in his eye, he slowly advances on the helpless Arisha. The light fades from Arisha's eyes as she lies defeated on the forest floor. With a demonic grin, Korin raises the sword, preparing to deliver the final blow. Before he can strike, Arisha's body dissolves into a cloud of glowing particles, leaving Korin stunned. The legendary sword suddenly materializes in Sihu's hands, causing him to stumble from the abrupt transfer of power. His eye glows with a fiery red intensity as the sword's energy begins to course through him. Sihu cries out in agony as a strange substance pours from his eyes, a painful side effect of the weapon's power. Now alone in the woods, he frantically searches for his unseen enemy, demanding they reveal themselves. From the shadows, a swarm of small, horned creatures suddenly charges toward him. Korin's hidden plan is revealed. He had secretly coated Sihu with a special mushroom powder. He realizes in horror that the powder has turned Sihu into an irresistible lure for the ravenous forest creatures. Sihu furiously slashes through the swarm of creatures, trying to fend off their relentless assault. Elsewhere, a mysterious man discovers Arisha's unconscious body, expressing relief that she is still alive. His relief is short-lived as the shadow of the massive Beowulf looms over him, and the helpless swordswoman. With astonishing strength, the man grapples with the beast, forcing its powerful jaws apart with his bare hands. His eyes glow with a red intensity as he looks up, sensing the arrival of another person. Sihu appears before them, wielding the Demon Slayer's sword and demanding to know the stranger's identity. He internally notes the incredible power of the blade, having already defeated several monsters with ease. A look of pure shock crosses Sihu's face as he finally gets a clear look at the stranger. He utters a name in disbelief, recognizing the man with the glowing red eyes as Korin Log. The entire scene dissolves into a blinding white light, marking a sudden shift in the narrative. Sihu confronts the man he recognizes as Korin, questioning his presence and wondering if he's lost his memories. A sinister grin crosses Korin's face, seeing an advantage in Sihu's apparent confusion. Sihu looks down at his sword, bewildered by Korin's strange warning about his grip. Seizing the momentary distraction, Korin lunges forward in a blur of motion. He throws a strange powder directly into Sihu's eyes, catching him completely off guard. Sihu recoils in agony, his vision blurred as he screams in fury at his attacker. Blinded by rage, Sihu unleashes a flurry of powerful, but wild strikes with the glowing sword. Korin acknowledges Sihu's superior physical stats, deciding he must fight with more cunning. He ducks under a wide swing and counters with a swift strike aimed at Sihu's neck. Korin presses his advantage, goading Sihu into a defensive posture to create another opening. Korin recalls a brutal lesson, planning to make Sihu focus only on the most obvious threat. His strategy is to narrow his opponent's vision until the fangs are the only thing he can see. With a ferocious roar, Korin lunges forward, putting his aggressive plan into action. Sihu desperately raises his sword, barely managing to block the relentless assault. Seeing his opponent completely focused, Korin seizes the perfect moment to strike. He slams Sihu to the ground, completely turning the tables with a single, powerful move. Korin ruthlessly drives his dagger into Sihu's shoulder, causing him to cry out in pain. Tears of shock and agony well up in Sihu's eyes as the reality of his defeat sinks in. Looming over his fallen enemy, Korin raises his weapon to deliver the final blow. Sihu watches in terror as the blade descends, completely helpless to stop the attack. The blade finds its mark with brutal finality, sealing Sihu's fate. With trembling hands, Sihu desperately tries to stop Korin from pushing the dagger deeper. Korin stares down with cold indifference, overpowering his crying, defeated opponent. In a flash of red, Sihu's life begins to fade as Korin finishes his ruthless attack. Korin cryptically acknowledges Sihu's help in a past life, admitting he had grown stronger. With the deed done, Korin stands over the body, feeling absolutely no regret for his actions. He catches his breath, the difficult battle against a powered-up player having taken its toll. From Sihu's fading perspective, Korin looms like a monster, his victory now absolute. A system window declares the player Sihu Park deceased, flagging Korin Log as an unexpected variable. The system shockingly transfers the player's status to Korin, designating the former NPC as the new hero. The system officially initiates Korin's succession, displaying his new status as a sub-player. His heart pounds as he processes his new title, wondering if he's gained the abilities of a true player. The aftermath of the intense battle hits him, and he doubles over, coughing from exhaustion. His attention snaps back to Arisha, who is still lying injured on the forest floor. He rushes to her side, relieved to find her conscious, though she reveals she's been blinded. He quickly diagnoses her symptoms, realizing Sihu had used a potent peacock frog poison on her. Korin internally notes the difficulty of creating such a poison, a testament to Sihu's unexpected skill. Knowing the danger isn't over, he prepares to remove the embedded weapon and neutralize the toxin. As she reacts in pain, he swiftly pulls the blade free, trying to calm her with a confident reassurance. Worried she might bite her tongue from the agony, he urgently looks for something to give her. He offers Arisha a piece of his sleeve, a makeshift gag to brace for the coming pain. With a determined gaze, Korin steels himself for the risky procedure ahead. He gently places the cloth in her mouth, advising her to bite down through the impending ordeal. Tearing his shirt aside, Korin prepares to use a desperate and unconventional method to save her. He reflects on his return to the past, realizing he successfully eliminated the hero and can now change fate. Without hesitation, he begins to draw the venom from her wound, saving a life that was lost in his original timeline. After expelling the poison, the forest itself seems to react to this profound shift in destiny. He looks at the now stable Arisha, affirming that saving her was his one true purpose. Later, a pot bubbles over a warm fire as he works to create a proper cure. While Arisha rests fitfully, Korin diligently brews the antidote, silently promising her she'll survive. Korin casually reassures the resting Arisha, who weakly asks for her savior's name. Overwhelmed with gratitude, she presses him again for his identity. He deflects the question, placing a cool cloth on her forehead to her confusion, promising to wake her when the antidote is ready. He internally resolves to keep his future plans secret. With Arisha resting, Korin begins to analyze his new situation, recalling the world's fundamental rules. He remembers the original hero's journey, which began by solving incidents at the Merkava Academy. This path was meant to culminate in a final confrontation between the hero and the ultimate evil. Even a ruthless player like Sihu was forced to follow the main story's progression. The stakes were absolute, as the hero's failure to defeat the final boss would mean the end of the world. But now that the designated hero is dead, Korin realizes someone new must take on that monumental role. With a determined clench of his fists, Korin accepts that he is the only one left to take on the hero's burden. He scoffs at the system, wondering if they really expect him to save the world without any new perks. His suspicions are confirmed as multiple system windows declare all player functions are denied to him. His initial excitement fades into disappointment, realizing his new sub-player title grants him no special abilities. Staring into the fire, he concludes that he must find power outside the game's restrictive rules. He recalls the 3 years of relentless training that transformed him from a mere extra into a formidable warrior. With a swipe of his finger, he draws a glowing symbol on the ground, channeling a different kind of power. The symbol erupts into a swirling vortex of energy, proving his alternative methods are effective. A smirk plays on his lips as his desperate gamble pays off, confirming his plan works. He remembers his past as an arcane failure, where the only magic he could master was the ancient power of runes. He recalls the ancient power of the 3 runes of troth, duty, restraint, and oath. This forbidden magic is one of the world's fundamental laws, a double-edged sword of immense power and destruction. With chilling resolve, he decides to carve all 3 of these powerful runes directly onto his body. He bites his own thumb, drawing blood to begin the painful and permanent ritual. The first rune, duty, sears itself onto his arm, causing him to grimace from the intense pain. This rune grants the user power by fulfilling self-made promises, a straightforward path to growth. However, the vow must be significant and endlessly repeatable, as easy promises yield little reward. Breathing heavily, Korin declares his first duty: he will never turn a blind eye to the misfortune of good people. The rune accepts his vow, offering stat increases for every quest completed, but a severe penalty for failure. Steeling himself once more, he prepares to inscribe the second rune of restraint. He endures the agony of carving the second rune, choosing the restraint of not perceiving spirits. He knows this world is filled with spiritual beings, from ghosts to nature spirits, visible to all. These spirits are completely harmless to those who cannot see them, rendering their attacks useless. The system confirms his gamble, a huge accuracy boost against physical beings, for a devastating penalty if he breaks his vow. He transforms this self-imposed penalty into a perfect shield against the spiritual world. Now turning to the final rune, Oath. This final rune, Oath, functions as a backup system but requires the caster to take an unbelievable risk. He remembers that the danger was so great. Neither he nor Sihu dared to touch this rune in their past life. He smirks, remembering that even Sihu, with all the system's power at his fingertips, still lost the final battle. With a chilling grin, he makes the ultimate choice without hesitation. He will save the entire world. He binds himself to this colossal ambition, a grand goal worthy of a true warrior. The system confirms the rune engraving is complete, binding his very heart to the three runes of troth. A surge of red energy envelops him as the system declares the ultimate penalty for failure: his own death. Sometime later, Erish's eyes flutter open, revealing her confusion as she awakens. She finds herself in an unfamiliar bed, disoriented and trying to understand her new surroundings. A sudden jolt of pain makes her sit up as a nurse informs her that she's finally awake. The nurse calmly explains that she's safe in Merkava City's emergency hospital. Panicked, she asks for her savior, only to learn from the nurse that he has just departed. She ignores the warning, insisting she's fine, and immediately looks for her belongings. Her eyes land on a bag left on a stool, recognizing the belt as the one belonging to her mysterious rescuer. Clutching the belt, she notices dried blood on it, a stark reminder of the sacrifice he made for her. With a glint in her eye, Erisha urgently calls for the nurse. The nurse flinches, startled by the girl's sudden intensity. Erisha asks about a candy shop, but is comically reminded she's on a strict recovery diet. The scene shifts to 4 days later, on the day of the Merkava Academy entrance ceremony. Korin rummages through his wallet for his student ID, only to find something he wasn't expecting. He pulls out a letter, a heartfelt message from his family that he doesn't remember packing. Standing before the academy, he reads their hopes for him to become a great protector of the people. He sighs, touched by their gesture and remembering the loving family the original Korin had. A flashback shows how this family embraced him, even when he struggled to adjust in a new body. He reflects that their unconditional love is what made him care for this world in the first place. He smiles, realizing his connection to others is the key difference between him and Sihu. The scene transitions to the Grand Merkava Academy station, where magical trolleys await. A crowd of new students buzzes with excitement, ready to begin their academy life. Korin stands among them, observing the impressive scale of his new school. A cheerful upperclassman with bright blue hair waves, gathering the first years together. She approaches Korin with a friendly greeting, and he introduces himself as a new student. In a quirky gesture of friendship, she offers him a potato from her basket, much to his surprise. They soon board a magically propelled trolley that speeds them across the vast campus. His new guide, introduced as Murray Dinaref, points out the building for magic research. The narrative reveals Murray is a promising second-year mage, but ominously foreshadows a tragic fate. The friendly upperclassman is shockingly revealed to be the final boss of the game's first chapter. Back in the present, she cheerfully offers potatoes and sweet potatoes to the departing students. With a final wave, she bids the new students farewell as the trolley pulls away. Korin finds himself in the opulent hall of the Academy's common building, surrounded by other students. He looks up, recognizing the complex magic circle forming on the ceiling as a space expansion spell. The world dissolves into a dark void, leaving the other students floating in panic while Korin remains grounded. As a booming voice berates the floating students, Korin looks on with an utterly unimpressed expression. He immediately identifies the speaker as Old Man Harmon, already bored by his predictable military-style theatrics. The narrative explains the Academy's true purpose: to train elite fighters who wield auras and magic against demons. A spotlight illuminates a lone silhouette who formally greets the assembled first-year students. The man introduces himself as Professor Firmic Damon of the Night Department, who will oversee their entrance ceremony. Korin smirks, recognizing the professor, who continues his speech about the students' ambitions. The professor's tone shifts, declaring his disdain for posers and his intent to test their true abilities. A flash of light engulfs the students, teleporting them into individual evaluation chambers. Korin's stats are displayed, revealing his pitifully low ranks in aura magic and special traits, placing him in the 6th tier. He looks down at the projection of his pathetic stats, grimly acknowledging his current weakness. Professor Damon instructs the students to find the signboard, corresponding to their newly assigned evaluation rank. Korin realizes his rank of 6 places him in the bottom 1% of the 400 new students. The professor flashes a menacing grin, offering a sarcastic wish of good luck to the low-rank students. The students are then magically sorted, flying towards their designated rank platforms like souls to their judgment. From an observation room, the professors watch over the most promising freshmen of the year. A stern-looking instructor explains that the top-tier students are exempt from this initial assessment. The first of the 2nd-tier students is revealed, Arisha Aiden, granddaughter of a legendary swordmaster. She's joined by Yule, a powerful druid from the Avalern Forest. Next is Doran Worski, a seasoned mercenary from the lands of Agam. The final 2nd-tier student is Kranoluden, a brilliant golemaster. But standing alone in the 1st tier is a mysterious nun wrapped in chains and a sinister red aura. Her name is Weren, a fearsome figure known only as the Soaring Fiend. The female instructor is visibly disturbed, questioning the director's decision to admit such a dangerous individual. Another professor scoffs at the lower ranks, suggesting the 6th-tier students are useless and should be expelled. The stern female instructor silences the other professor, stating that the director demands equal opportunity for every student. Backing down immediately, the professor snaps his fingers, eager to just start the assessment. A huge weapons case crashes down, revealing the test is a 30-second battle against increasingly powerful demonic beast. Korin remains unimpressed, recognizing the Academy's usual blunt and unforgiving style. With the countdown ticking, Korin approaches the weapon rack, calculating the predictable moves of other low-rankers. He knows that in a panic, most would instinctively grab the most common weapon, a sword. As 3 demonic hounds appear, he recalls making that same mistake in a previous life's test. The monstrous hounds bare their fangs, their glowing eyes promising a swift and brutal end. He moves with blinding speed, aware that mastering a sword takes years, a luxury he doesn't have. At the last second, he unleashes a massive explosion of energy, revealing he had a different plan all along. He reveals his true weapon of choice, lunging forward with a spear he snatched from the rack. His single, powerful thrust instantly causes one of the hounds to disintegrate. He casually points upward, offering a mock apology as 2 more projectiles descend. The falling objects are revealed to be 2 more hounds, which immediately charge at him. The lead beast's eyes flare with red light as it prepares a deadly lunge. Yet before they can land, both hounds are instantly struck down from a distance. He flashes a knowing grin, revealing his deep familiarity with these demonic creatures. He casually retrieves his spear, noting he defeated the hounds in only 12 seconds. He remembers his past life where he failed this very test, now determined to change his fate. Brimming with confidence, he rests the spear on his shoulder and boldly challenges the system to send in the next wave. 5 minutes later, Korin stands alone in the empty arena, waiting for his next challenge. He grows impatient, questioning if the system has malfunctioned after his unexpectedly swift victory. Meanwhile, monitors in the observation room show other students being completely overwhelmed by the beast. A smug professor scoffs at their weakness, boasting about his own superior performance as a student. He dismisses the 5th-tier students as hopeless, only to be stopped short by a surprising sight on one of the screens. The monitor reveals 6th-tier Korin casually yawning, having already finished, which the professor assumes is a system error. Back in the arena, Korin simply wonders why the next wave of monsters hasn't been sent out yet. The professor's attention is drawn to another student finally defeating the hounds. After a long struggle, he mockingly announces the first official victor, unimpressed by their slow time of over 7 minutes. While complaining about the lower tiers, his eyes once again fall on Korin's screen, leaving him utterly bewildered. The professor frantically points at the screen, convinced the evaluation device is broken for failing to summon Beast for Korin. A more senior instructor dismisses the claim, stating the system's creator is flawless. Yet he's also baffled as to why the idle student hasn't been disqualified. The senior professor presses his colleague, who sheepishly admits he never actually witnessed the error himself. Flustered, the professor tries to prove his point by activating another student's trial, only for a new set of hounds to appear instantly. The student on that screen looks utterly annoyed, questioning why he keeps getting the same predictable monsters. He unleashes his fury, wielding a unique multi-bladed weapon with explosive intent. In a flash of light and raw power, the demonic hounds are completely engulfed by his attack. The beasts are annihilated in a massive explosion, with the monitor displaying a stunningly fast clear time of 7.3 seconds. Both professors stare in absolute shock, their minds unable to process the impossibly swift victory. The stunned professor calls out to Professor Damon, who stands nearby, completely unaware of the spectacle. Professor Damon recalls the fastest third-tier student took over 3 minutes, completely oblivious to the recent record. The other professor nervously dismisses the question, unable to explain the impossible time he just witnessed. The senior professor speculates on Korin's background. Just as the system prepares a 4th-tier demonic beast, a furious mad boar appears, ready to test Korin's limits against a much stronger foe. The professor recoils in disbelief as the mad boar is defeated in an unbelievable 3.7 seconds. Desperate to see a challenge, the professor watches as the system summons a 3rd-tier owlbear. Korin effortlessly dodges the owlbear's powerful downward swipe, moving with practiced ease. He tightens his grip on the spear, channeling his power for a decisive counterstrike. The massive beast unleashes another sweeping attack, aiming to crush the lone student. But Korin meets the blow head-on, his spear glowing with the power of the Kenna's rune. The owlbear roars in agony as it's consumed by the fiery power of the rune. In the observation room, the professors are stunned, realizing Korin just used rune magic. The skeptical professor stares intently, his mind racing to comprehend the student's advanced abilities. Korin gracefully lands and observes the beast, noting his fiery attack wasn't a finishing blow. Without hesitation, he charges back and, whipping his spear round to create a powerful whirlwind. His true goal is revealed as he slams his spear down, kicking up a cloud of dust to blind the beast. The senior professor is now completely captivated, wishing the test could summon even stronger foes to see Korin's full potential. Meanwhile, his flustered colleague stammers as he prepares to initiate the next and final stage of the test. A ghostly demonic spirit begins to materialize in the arena, marking the start of the final challenge. Korin remains poised, sensing the arrival of the new enemy even though it makes no sound. He reveals a unique restraint that makes him unable to perceive or interact with spiritual beings. He confidently theorizes this means demonic spirits are equally unable to interact with him. To test this, he stands perfectly still for a full minute as the ghost fails to notice him. A smug grin confirms his theory was correct. The spirit is completely oblivious. With his experiment complete, he calmly raises his hand and forfeits the final stage of the assessment. His evaluation screen shows 3 new records for the beast trials but a forfeit for the spirit test. Now outside the arena, Korin politely thanks the senior professor, who is still processing the bizarre outcome. The professor stares in utter bewilderment, wondering about the true identity of this mysterious student. Meanwhile, the other students gather in the main hall, anxiously chattering about their own test results. They compare their hard-earned tears, completely oblivious to the student who just shattered the Academy's records. A cocky, tattooed student named Jaeger Peter strikes a confident pose, looking down on everyone. Korin immediately recognizes him as an early-game antagonist from the story he knows. He recalls how his past self, Sihu, dealt with the annoying bully permanently and without hesitation. While Jaeger was just an arrogant kid, Korin admits his past self's solution was terrifyingly extreme. Nearby, another group mocks the 5th-tier students. Unaware, Korin is recalling another future casualty among them. He spots Lark, a jealous student who also met a grim end after spreading malicious rumors in the original timeline. The student's chatter is silenced as the school's board director clears his throat. To begin the assembly, Director Ariu Kasar, an imposing figure with a third eye, formally introduces himself to the new students. He addresses the crowd, acknowledging that some students, like the stoic nun in attendance, are already powerful. The director concludes his speech, hoping everyone finds their path, his words hanging over Korin and his future victims. The director clarifies that the Academy only guides their first steps. The rest is up to each student. With a final, knowing smile, he wishes them a wonderful day and concludes the assembly. Students begin to disperse throughout the grand hall, separating into groups based on their evaluation tiers. Jaeger Peter begins to boast about his 3rd-tier rank but stops short. When he spots a potential target, he aggressively confronts a timid, bookish student demanding to know his tier, who nervously admits he's 5th. Jaeger mockingly laughs at the student's lousy score while Korin watches the scene unfold. From a distance, Korin smoothly intervenes, casually slinging an arm around the startled Jaeger to interrupt the bullying. He gets uncomfortably close, complimenting Jaeger's tattoos and correctly identifying the one on his neck as a blood-type marker. Flustered but pleased, Jaeger proudly explains that his tattooist mother was the one who did all his ink. Korin smiles politely, but his inner monologue reveals he already knew this. Recalling a grim detail from his past life, he He recalls a tragic memory of Jaeger's mother visiting the academy after her son's demise. Korin understands the tattoos were a reflection of his parents' love and concern for him. Jaeger proudly flexes, showing off the academy's symbol tattooed on his bicep. After a friendly introduction, Korin learns the bully's name is Jaeger Hins Peter. He then turns to the timid student, who flinches before nervously stating his name is Lark. From a distance, a mysterious girl in a formal uniform observes Korin's smooth handling of the situation. She offers a small, impressed smile acknowledging his clever social skills. Korin turns away, confident that he's made a good first impression on his new acquaintances. He focuses on Lark, recalling that the boy's special trait is the power to perfectly memorize anything. A predatory grin spreads across Korin's face as he realizes he's just acquired a walking, talking skill book. His maniacal laugh is overheard by the mysterious girl, who finds his strange charm surprisingly cute. The story pans to the impressive Merkava Academy, where most facilities are open and free for all students. Among the free dorms and cheap food, the academy's greatest asset is revealed to be the state-of-the-art training room. Without a second thought, Korin immediately heads to the training room to begin his regimen. This advanced facility allows students to practice even the most impossible training scenarios. He expertly deflects a barrage of glowing, ethereal projectiles with swift movements of his spear. His training session attracts the attention of two upperclassmen, who are surprised to see a first-year practicing against spiritual beings. The crowd whispers in disbelief, as fighting spirits is a skill even second-years find challenging. His concentration breaks, and he's struck by a powerful spiritual blow, much to the amusement of the skeptical crowd. Catching his breath, Korin admits he has a long way to go, only to be approached by the two students who observed his training. A senior instructor approaches Korin, demanding to know why he's training against spirits. When questioned about his chances, Korin declares with unshakable resolve that he will absolutely win. Korin breaks into a cold sweat, worried he's in trouble for some unknown reason. After a moment of intense scrutiny, the instructor unexpectedly praises Korin's impressive fighting spirit. His demeanor flips entirely as he cheerfully offers Korin a stack of 10 meal tickets as a reward. The instructor laughs boisterously, encouraging Korin to seek him out after his victory. Leaving the student baffled, Korin breathes a sigh of relief, realizing his panic was completely unfounded. He remembers the instructor's unique way of showing favor. As the mysterious girl watches on with a knowing smile, re-energized, Korin dives back into his training, gracefully deflecting a storm of ethereal blades. His focus falters for a moment, and a powerful spiritual blow lands squarely in his gut. The intense training session ends with Korin being slammed to the ground, his weapon flying from his grasp. Lying on the floor, he sighs in exhaustion, realizing the gap in his current abilities. Suddenly, a cool, wet towel is dropped onto his face, startling him from his thoughts. The mysterious girl from the assembly now stands over him, offering a glass of water for his efforts. She swirls the water with a touch of magic, telling him he's pushed himself hard enough for one day. Offering the drink, she reassures him that he'll succeed next time, but he internally disagrees. As he reaches for the glass, his mind flashes back to a time when things were much simpler. He recalls a memory of his past self, Sihu, pulling him up. A time when they had system support and potions. Snapping back to reality, Korin sits up, grimly accepting he must succeed on his own now that Sihu is gone. With renewed determination, he politely declines her help, vowing to push himself to his absolute limit. He gets to his feet, his expression hardening with the desperate need to become stronger. Korin decides to first test the limits of his current body and see which of his old skills are still usable. He flawlessly executes a series of deadly spear techniques, flowing from a precise thrust to a powerful swing. The memories of his past life guide him through a complex counterattack, disarming an imaginary foe. He continues with a dizzying spin, a move designed to create a whirlwind of destruction. Korin recalls his ultimate throwing technique, a move powerful enough to shatter mountains. He sighs, acknowledging that without immense power, even his knowledge of the future proved useless in his past life. To survive, he had to compensate for his weaknesses by training harder than anyone else. He channels the culmination of that brutal training, unleashing his ultimate poisonous snake technique. The technique connects with blinding speed, demonstrating the lethal power he honed over 3 years. His spear spins through the air, creating a vortex of blue energy. The mysterious girl watches in confusion, wondering if he has just given up the fight. In a shocking move, Korin catches one of the spiritual blades with his bare hand. She realizes with a start that letting go of his spear was a deliberate part of his plan. He leaps into the air, perfectly timing his move to intercept his returning weapon. Catching the spear, he pivots and executes the snake's deceit, striking the spiritual beast below. The impact creates a massive explosion, obliterating the spiritual entity in a flash of light. A brilliant orb of energy erupts, signaling the complete destruction of his target. Marie stands in stunned silence, utterly amazed by the display of sheer power and technique. Her eyes sparkle with a newfound admiration, completely captivated by his incredible skill. She can't help but think he's the coolest person she's ever seen. Her admiration is cut short as Korin suddenly plummets to the ground. He lies twitching on the floor, realizing he pushed his body far beyond its limits. His spear lies shattered, a testament to the immense power his current form can't handle. The next day, the first-year students gather for an official tour of the academy. Marie cheerfully takes the lead, beginning her introduction to the school's various facilities. Korin, however, is lost in thought, already planning how to build a stronger body. He knows he must find a new way to enhance his physical abilities without relying on Sihu's elixirs. A determined glint appears in his eye as he remembers the one unique power he still possesses: his runes of troth. Elsewhere, another student reads from a book, resolving not to ignore the misfortune of others. Korin casually approaches the studious boy, startling him with a friendly invitation to lunch. He then leans in close, whispering about a topic that sends a shiver down the boy's spine: the grimoire. A grimoire is revealed to be an incredibly rare item, a skill book that grants its reader new powers instantly. The story shifts to the colossal library of Merkava Academy, supposedly built to preserve all of humanity's knowledge. But that official story is a complete fabrication. The library's true purpose is to conceal the grimoire. Korin explains the best place to hide something is in plain sight, as his new companion, Lark, nervously agrees to their deal. Korin promises to only take the grimoire with special traits, while Lark, a gnome brainiac, diligently searches the shelves. In the previous timeline, Lark's memorizability was hampered by his low mana, making his vast spell knowledge impractical. Lark's fumbling proves that all the theoretical knowledge in the world means nothing without the power to apply it. However, the grimoire is the ultimate exception, and Korin reaches for the one titled Sack of All Trades to claim its power. As Lark complains, Korin deliberately bumps a specific book, triggering a hidden mechanism. A hidden door rumbles open, leaving Lark completely stunned by the discovery. Korin confidently heads into the secret passage, beckoning for a hesitant Lark to follow. Lark nervously follows down the creepy corridor until Korin suddenly stops and turns to face him. Korin extends his hand, reminding Lark that it's time to uphold his end of their bargain. Lark nervously grabs his hand, mistakenly believing his task is to help exorcise an evil spirit. Before Lark can even finish his question, Korin knocks him out cold with a swift blow, standing over the unconscious Lark with an ominous glow. Korin reveals his true intention was always to help him. He clarifies that his plan also involves clearing a special quest by defeating a demonic spirit, for a hidden reward. Unfortunately for the spirit, Korin's plan requires a very specific type of bait. Korin admits there's a slight problem with his plan as a special-tier demonic spirit named Sabancha Duke materializes. He acknowledges that this particular quest was intentionally designed to be impossible for anyone to clear. Facing a special-tier entity is considered a death sentence, far beyond the challenge of a regular spirit. The Duke immediately unleashes a devastating barrage of dark energy, filling the corridor with destructive power. This opening salvo, from a legendary commander, is powerful enough to instantly eliminate any challenger at the start of the quest. However, the deadly attack phases harmlessly through Korin, who remains completely untouched and confident. This immunity is thanks to his unique restraint ability, which prevents him from perceiving spirits at all. Because he can't perceive the spirit, the Duke's spiritual attacks have absolutely no effect on him. But this creates a new problem. While he's immune, he also can't see his opponent. The demonic Duke is left completely baffled, unable to comprehend why its target is completely ignoring it. Korin calmly offers the unconscious Lark as a new vessel for the bewildered demonic spirit. A flashback reveals the existence of marks, inborn traits that can transform ordinary people into monstrous beings. Commander Sabancha Duke was one such person whose mark activated and caused him to lose control, attacking his own servant. He was consumed by the fear that his monstrous urges would one day make him harm his own wife and daughter. To protect his loved ones, he sent them away and sealed himself inside his castle, cutting himself off from the world. In a final act of sacrifice, he used magic to imprison his own spirit within a book, creating the very grimoire they found. Back in the present, the Duke's spirit invades Lark's body, twisting his features with a malevolent red energy. The newly possessed Lark lunges at Korin with mindless fury, completely driven by the Duke's thirst for blood. Korin remains perfectly calm, revealing there was another, more strategic reason for bringing Lark along. He effortlessly dodges the attack, knowing the Duke can only use the physical abilities of the body he possesses. The possessed Lark is no match for Korin, as he was specifically chosen for having the lowest physical stats in the academy. Korin pins the possessed Lark, revealing that in the previous timeline, the quest was cleared by simply eliminating the host. This brutal method was how the previous hero, Sihu, obtained the Duke's legendary cape and other powerful items. The cape was a crucial asset that greatly aided Sihu in the many trials he would later face. But Korin declares he is not Sihu and has a different plan, one that starts by getting the Duke's attention. He dangles the one thing the spirit cares about, the fate of his wife, Luina, and his daughter, Cecilia. Korin sits down and begins to tell the tormented spirit the story of what happened to his family after he vanished. He shares the tragic tale of the Duke's wife, but also the inspiring story of his daughter, who became a world-renowned adventurer. Unlike Sihu, who only sought power, Korin acts from a place of empathy, shaped by the family he has in this new life. His true goal was never just to clear the quest, but to give the tragic Duke the peace and closure he never had. The Duke, speaking through Lark, expresses his gratitude and apologizes for his earlier frenzy. After their long talk, the spirit finally finds peace and prepares to pass on to the afterlife. As a final reward, the Duke's spirit leaves behind a pouch of glowing purple dust. Korin receives his quest rewards the Duke's soul dust into grimoires, instantly learning a new skill. He obtains the Determined Warrior's Regeneration, the very same powerful healing trait that belonged to the previous hero, Sihu. Korin reflects that he never actually saw the trait in action, as Sihu was too overpowered to ever get hurt. With the quest complete, Lark finally wakes up completely disoriented by the recent events. When Lark complains about his sore jaw, Korin innocently blames it on the side effects of demonic possession. Korin then presents the grimoire to Lark, who could only stare in utter shock. Fulfilling his promise, Korin offers the priceless book to Lark, revealing this was part of his plan all along. Korin reveals his true satisfaction comes from seeing a hard-working person like Lark finally get rewarded. He's then stunned by a system notification granting him an incredible 80 stat points for completing his duty. Korin quickly calculates that this massive reward is equivalent to leveling up 16 times. As Lark carries him out, he ponders the unusually high reward for a single quest, suspecting a hidden system mechanic. The system reveals the Rune of Duty, a special trait that rewards him for helping good people in need. His points came from his sources, 40 for helping Lark, and another 40 for bringing peace to the Duke. Later, in the academy training room, a cheerful voice offers potatoes to the other students. A friendly, blue-haired girl happily hands out snacks before her attention is caught by someone familiar. She approaches Korin as he stretches, asking if he's once again preparing to practice against spirits. With a bright smile, she offers her unconditional support, promising to cheer him on. Other students scoff at Marie's support, certain that a first year like Korin is destined to fail against a high-tier spirit. Marie simply smiles, calmly questioning their doubts about Korin's chances. The practice session suddenly turns into a betting frenzy, with Marie confidently placing a large wager on Korin's victory. Ignoring the crowd, Korin centers himself, eager to test the limits of the power he gained from the Duke's quest. He begins with a fundamental technique, the poisonous snake, unleashing a powerful thrust with his spear. He recalls this move as one of the most basic attacks, not expecting it to even scratch the powerful spirit. His simple thrust results in a massive, unexpected explosion of pure energy. The onlookers are left speechless, stunned that he obliterated the spirit with a single, elementary attack. Even Korin is taken aback, sweating nervously as he processes the incredible power he just displayed. Marie points out his massive improvement, reminding him that he succeeded on his first try with a move that took 3 attempts the day before. Korin is shocked that Marie could track his movements, realizing her eyesight is on a completely different level. Marie suddenly shoves a heavy pouch into his hands, declaring it's his reward. She explains that since he won her a fortune from the bet, it's only fair to split the profits. Korin's friendly demeanor vanishes, replaced by a greedy glint in his eye at the prospect of free money. The two share a laugh, with Korin eagerly anticipating more profitable partnerships with his new friend. Later that night, Korin reflects on his past life, where mastering martial arts was a matter of survival. While eating a snack, he considers his progress, having already mastered 5 of the 6 ultimate spear techniques. He feels confident in his spear skills, which are developing much faster than he had anticipated. However, his real challenge lies with his rune magic, which fails to activate due to insufficient mana. He recalls this was an unsolvable issue even in his past life, as rune magic requires a massive amount of energy. Korin walks through the academy halls, determined to overcome his mana deficiency and become even stronger. Suddenly, a familiar voice calls out to him, stopping him in his tracks. He knows that despite his rapid progress, there's one person at the academy he can never hope to defeat. This individual is the most powerful NPC in the world, the only character even the legendary hero Sihu couldn't overcome. He spots her sitting under a tree, wherein the notorious gamebreaker known as the Soaring Fiend. Confused as to why she's addressing him, Korin decides his best course of action is to simply walk away. But Waren's voice cuts through the night again, making a strange observation about his body. Her piercing gaze seems to see right through him as she asks if his body is truly his own. Korin is left completely stunned, his mind reeling from her impossibly accurate question. A wave of panic washes over him as he realizes this terrifying woman might know his greatest secret. Korin's mind races, questioning how she could possibly know he's from another world. He remembers that Waren is a paradoxical being, a living corpse who can perceive the true nature of souls. It dawns on him that her strange existence is precisely why she can see through his disguise. Waren presses further, asking what it feels like to take over a body that isn't his. Though he plays dumb, her question strikes a nerve, echoing a deep-seated doubt from his past life. He remembers wrestling with his own identity, unsure if he and Korin Lorg were separate people. His mundane past life on Earth, a completely different path, flashes through his mind. He recalls that even at the moment of his death, he never found the answer to who he truly was. Waren continues her verbal assault, declaring that he is not the rightful owner of his body. She coldly labels him a thief, asserting he has no right to the vessel he now occupies. Korin deflects with a bizarre story from his world about a man who turns into a green giant. When angry, he explains that this man's conflicting personalities actually made him stronger together. His true point is that different souls, whether new or old, can coexist within a single body. Korin passionately declares that being born is never a crime, directly challenging her accusation. Waren listens silently before offering her own dark perspective on the matter. She coldly retorts that for some beings, their very existence is considered a crime. He understands the source of her pain but knows he's powerless to help her at this moment. Deciding to end the tense conversation, Korin bids her farewell and walks away. Waren remains seated under the tree, silently watching him depart into the night. The next morning arrives, finding Korin ready to face a new day at the academy. Korin heads out, trying to recall the location of a specific place in the southern part of the academy. He arrives at the mission board, a central hub where students accept quests to level up. He acknowledges that completing these missions is a necessary step to advance in this world. However, his true purpose isn't leveling up, but rather to test something he has in mind. His thoughts are interrupted when he spots a familiar girl intently studying the mission board. He identifies her as Arisha, realizing his knowledge of her is limited since she died early in his previous life. Korin approaches Arisha, questioning why a powerful second-tier student is already looking for missions. She simply states that she needs to earn money, leaving Korin puzzled about her financial situation. Arisha sheepishly clarifies that because her family is wealthy, she doesn't receive academy funding. Korin suddenly recalls the academy's policy. The student aid program doesn't provide a single penny to the rich. Arisha continues to vent, explaining her rich family's strict policy on independence has left her broke. Seeing her dilemma, Korin helpfully suggests she take on some simple, well-paying patrol missions. Arisha excitedly invites him to join a 3-person mission, but Korin politely turns her down. He reveals his real plan is to grind as many easy quests as possible, starting with finding a lost cat. He accepts the quest from a little girl, knowing the true reward isn't experience, but a chance to activate his runes. The simple quest escalates as Korin dives to rescue the cat from the clutches of a massive water demon. By reuniting the tearful girl with her pet, Korin fulfills the hidden condition for his power. His plan succeeds, and he erupts into a crazed celebration as his runes activate, terrifying the poor girl. His point-hunting frenzy continues as he spots a group of thugs bullying someone, seeing them as his next target. The montage of madness continues as he retrieves a stolen ring for a couple, his mind singularly focused on racking up more points. His point frenzy is cut short by the sudden memory of a mission far more important than grinding. He rushes to a peculiar chicken-themed building, struck by the horrifying realization that something is terribly wrong. Inside, a ridiculously buff, sunglass-wearing old man slams his fist down in a fit of culinary rage. The man despairs over his failed recipe, his dream of creating chicken that stays delicious even when cold slipping away. He glares at the bubbling cauldron of sauce, identifying it as the source of his culinary heartbreak. A voice from the shadows startles the chef, bluntly telling him he's making a huge mistake. Silhouetted in the doorway, Korin reveals the simple, game-changing solution to the man's problem: corn syrup. A close-up reveals Korin's unnervingly sharp grin, relishing the moment of his grand reveal. His job done, Korin gives a cheerful wave and exits, leaving the muscular chef completely bewildered. Skeptical but desperate, the chef decides to give the weirdo's advice a shot, adding the new ingredient to his sauce. The chef is blown away by the perfect flavor. While outside, Korin smirks, satisfied with the mission he deemed absolutely necessary. His true motive is revealed. As a former Korean, he simply couldn't tolerate a world without seasoned spicy chicken. He's stunned to receive a quest completion notice. Realizing his selfish culinary crusade also activated his runes, Korin celebrates manically, concluding that anyone who makes delicious chicken must be a fundamentally good person. From a nearby rooftop, a mysterious figure in a nun's habit watches his bizarre victory dance in the street below. The red-eyed nun observes him with a cold, analytical gaze, finding his behavior utterly strange. Suddenly, a woman in a large hat materializes behind the nun, scolding her for leaving without permission. The nun, revealed to be Warren, slowly turns to face the imposing figure who just appeared. The woman with the glasses stares down at Warren, awaiting an explanation for her unauthorized outing. Warren looks away, her thoughts echoing Korin's earlier words that being born is never a crime. Warren is tormented by a painful memory of someone screaming that she should never have been born. The scene transitions to the Academy's hunting grounds, with Warren overlooking the city at sunset. The sun rises over the dense forest where the next Academy trial is set to begin. An instructor announces a survival evaluation, challenging the students to navigate the woods and reach a cabin. A map reveals the treacherous paths to the cabin, with the instructor stating that simply arriving is enough to pass. She explains the real game. Students will wear ranked armbands, and collecting more from others is encouraged. A bespectacled student trembles with greedy anticipation as the instructor reveals the armbands can be traded for valuable items. Korin scans the crowd, noting Warren's absence before someone calls out to him. He turns to find Arisha, who happily thanks him for his advice, which helped her solve her money problems. As a token of gratitude, she offers him a rare honeycomb candy, leaving Korin pleasantly surprised. The instructor unleashes a wave of purple energy, officially starting the hunting grounds test. A massive teleportation circle flares to life, swallowing all the students in a vortex of magic. Korin smirks, impressed by the Archwitch's unchanged and unparalleled skill in mass teleportation. He materializes in a forest clearing, his weapon swirling as he lands perfectly. The sounds of battle already echo through the trees, catching him by surprise. He recalls the rules of this battle royale, a free-for-all where students hunt each other for valuable armbands. Uninterested in the small fry, he sprints past the dueling students, focused on a much bigger prize. His true target is revealed as his finger glows with power, the high-value armband belonging to Arisha. With Warren out of the picture, he calculates that defeating Arisha first will make the rest of the test a cakewalk. He reveals his masterstroke. The candy he gave Arisha was secretly marked with the tracking rune. His eyes glow with madness as he licks his sword, vowing that his tracking rune will soon reunite them. He leaps through the forest with a crazed laugh, calling out Arisha's name in a terrifying display of excitement. Back at the entrance, the Archwitch announces her own intention to enter the woods. The director voices his worry, explaining that despite stationing professors, he still feels uneasy. A sudden realization strikes the Archwitch. Warren is nowhere to be seen, and she asks the director if he sent her in. He clarifies that Warren wasn't sent, but instead personally requested to join the evaluation, shocking the Archwitch. Deep inside the forest, Warren sprints with purpose, already engaged in the trial. As she chases after Korin, a strange feeling tells her that something has changed. With a determined gaze, she concludes that something significant must have altered his state of mind. Suddenly, the sounds of a fierce battle erupt nearby, with shouts to capture an unknown person. Arisha furiously scolds a group of students, calling their actions shameful. She effortlessly dispatches the entire group, their numbers proving no match for her overwhelming talent. A lone survivor makes a desperate leap, but Arisha is already turning to face the attack. Before he can land a blow, an unseen force violently slams him into the ground, stunning Arisha. Korin reveals himself, shrouded in a menacing red aura, as Arisha mistakenly believes he's a hero who came to her rescue. He suddenly compliments her beauty, leaving the flustered Arisha completely caught off guard. With a menacing glint in his eyes, he clarifies his true desire, the beautiful blue armband on her arm. Arisha stares in disbelief, feeling betrayed, as Korin internally assesses her as a purely physical fighter of average skill. He flashes a deranged grin, mockingly offering her a chance to be a good person by handing over her prize. However, Korin may have underestimated her, as she's still a top-tier fighter who just single-handedly defeated 7 other students. Erisha's confidence shatters as she struggles to block Korin's attack. Completely baffled by the turn of events, she stares in disbelief at his overwhelming strength, while his glowing eyes reveal a terrifying power. The two clash in a flurry of strikes, with Erisha barely managing to fend off his relentless assault. She spots a tiny flaw in his pattern, a brief opening she believes she can exploit. Erisha lunges to seize her chance, only for Korin to effortlessly deflect her blade with a knowing smirk. He mocks her overconfidence, pointing out that raw talent is no substitute for hard-earned experience. Korin demonstrates his superior skill, initiating a counter by masterfully redirecting her blade. He follows up by yanking her weapon down, completely disarming her with a single, fluid motion. With her guard broken, he prepares to deliver the final, decisive thrust. Erisha is left speechless, realizing he just outmaneuvered her using a combination of fundamental swordplay. Korin reveals that the most fundamental moves can become the most powerful and devastating counterattacks. He considers his flawless execution to be truly the ultimate spear technique. He unleashes the revolving yank plunge, launching Erisha helplessly into the air. She crashes hard onto the forest floor, completely disarmed and defeated. Struggling to breathe, she realizes only her aura saved her from a critical blow. She's forced to admit his pure skill more than makes up for any gap in raw power. Korin looms over her with a terrifying grin, his true strength far beyond what she imagined. He casually rips the armband from her arm, thanking her for the prize as she cries out in despair. A sudden explosion rips through the forest, as an unseen student cries out that the situation is unfair. The commotion startles Korin, who pauses mid-victory, wondering about the source of the disturbance. Elsewhere, another student struggles to block a crushing blow from an impossibly heavy demonic sword. He instantly recognizes the unique weapon, realizing with dread who his opponent must be. The attacker, a silver-haired student, leaps back, mockingly impressed that his opponent survived the strike. Surrounded by an arsenal of floating swords, the newcomer confidently demands the other student's armband. Korin scowls, identifying the formidable fighter as Doran Worski, a rival he had hoped to avoid. The path behind Doran is littered with dozens of defeated students and beasts, a testament to his power. Despite the carnage, Doran remains perfectly untouched, proving he's on a completely different level from Erisha. With a look of grim resolve, Korin accepts that he has no choice but to face this unexpected threat. Realizing he has nothing to gain, Korin makes a tactical retreat, clutching his prize in his mouth. Doran is left momentarily stunned, watching his target inexplicably flee the scene. Taking a step forward, the silver-haired student begins to process what he just witnessed. His eyes flash with understanding, as he recalls the distinct blue color of the object in Korin's mouth. Elsewhere, Warren is caught in a fiery blast, baffled by Korin's uncharacteristic burst of action. She catches up to him, demanding answers as they both sprint away from the pursuing chaos. Korin focuses on his new goal, delivering the armband to the designated cabin, without a direct confrontation. A sudden thought strikes him as he questions the nature of this cabin he's racing towards. The path to the cabin is blocked by a massive golem, with its nonchalant master standing guard. The golem master, Kranaludin, smirks, informing them that passage requires a toll, their armbands. Warren panics at the unfairness of the situation, as Korin realizes things just went from bad to worse. He's now caught between a rock and a hard place, Kranal's golem ahead, and the relentless Doran behind. After trying so hard to avoid a fight, Korin accepts he's trapped between two of the strongest students. To Warren's astonishment, he summons his spear, preparing to challenge both powerhouses at once. With a determined glint in his eye, Korin decides that if a fight is truly unavoidable, then he'll unleash his full power, creating a massive explosion that engulfs everyone. The scene transitions to a calm evening sky, leaving the outcome of the chaotic battle a mystery. Sometime later, a knock at the designated cabin door signals the arrival of the first successful student. Korin stands there, looking surprisingly innocent with the armband in his mouth, ready to collect his reward. The instructor is amazed he collected 3 blue armbands, but Korin humbly plays it off as a stroke of good fortune. The scene flashes back, revealing the aftermath of the 3-way brawl with Korin as the sole victor. Warren recalls the unbelievable events, her mind still reeling from what she witnessed. Korin had preemptively struck Doran's magic sword, neutralizing its core before it could unleash its full power. He then expertly dodged the floating blades, subtly redirecting their trajectory toward Kranal's golem. With a cunning grin, he darted behind Doran, using his rival as a living shield against the golem's assault. By forcing Doran to engage the golem, Korin created the perfect opening to strike the automaton's core. After neutralizing the golem, he swiftly took down its master, Kranal, with brilliant psychological tactics. Surrounded by a powerful aura, Korin stood victorious, looking like a veteran of countless battles. Warren realizes his masterful spear work and ability to turn weaknesses into strengths remind her of her own sister. He then coldly lectured his defeated foe, mocking their over-reliance on talent instead of diligent practice. Arisha forces a smile, her defeat sparking a new, unsettling determination. Clutching her fist, she vows to push herself harder, forever changed by the encounter. Doran is left bewildered, wondering how Korin knew his secrets and dismantled his strategy so effortlessly. Meanwhile, Crannel lies on the ground, utterly crushed by his swift and unexpected loss. Korin explains that Crannel's greatest weakness was his lack of allies to protect him. The Golem Master's confession of having no friends leaves Korin momentarily speechless. Korin offers some cold, parting advice, leaving a fuming Crannel to wallow in his humiliation. On that day, Korin left a lasting and distinct impression on Warren and the defeated Golem Master. Doran, too, was left with an unforgettable memory of the boy who completely outmaneuvered him. Back at the cabin, Korin celebrates his victory. Already plotting his strategy against the final top-ranked student, the ground trembles, signaling the presence of the final top-ranked student Korin was anticipating. This final challenge is Yule, a druid who commands the very power of the forest. Unfortunately for her, a different kind of magic is about to make its grand entrance. A massive torrent of water magic looms over the forest, revealing the presence of a senior student. At the heart of the deluge floats a silhouetted figure, identified as Merkava Academy's greatest mage. Her identity is revealed as Murray Dunaref, a powerful mage with a deceptively sweet smile. She unleashes an overwhelming wave, playing her part as a monster for the first year's practical exam. The powerful druid is left soaked and defeated, having stood no chance against such overwhelming force. Marie introduces herself to the defeated druid, a moment the narrator thought was the end of the story. But a sudden, chilling change in Marie's demeanor proves the story is far from over. Marie's victory is interrupted by a mysterious nun who appears from the shadows, questioning her. With glowing red eyes, the nun stares intently, demanding to know the powerful mage's name. The shadowy figure then asks if Marie is searching for a particular person. She gestures to a group of defeated students, noting their uncanny resemblance to each other. Unfazed, Marie simply smiles and dashes past the nun, completely ignoring her. The nun is forced to retreat as Marie unleashes a sudden, powerful ice attack. With a wicked grin, Marie reveals she can't let the nun leave, as it's her job to be the monster of the exam. Surrounded by a fiery aura, the nun calmly accepts the challenge, ready for a fight. Back at the cabin, an instructor announces Korin's incredible score of 117 points as he asks to claim his prize. He is presented with his choice of rewards: a potent knife, a protective coat, or a bottle of rare monster bile. Korin reveals he had a specific plan from the start, dismissing the most obvious prize. He confidently selects a mandrake seed, an odd choice that impresses the instructor. The instructor asks how he'll use his remaining 17 points, prompting Korin to consider his options. He cheerfully spends the rest on plant fertilizer and a pair of earplugs, completing his strange haul. Feeling accomplished after his shopping spree, Korin exits the cabin with a spear. The narrator reflects on the pile of defeated students, noting this is the most successful run of the event yet. Surprisingly, the boisterous Tristan and his timid partner also arrive, celebrating their second-place finish. Korin smirks at the pair, playfully commenting on their successful teamwork. He then spots Crannel searching the rubble and suggests Tristan help the Golem Master find his core. When Crannel stubbornly rejects the offer, Korin simply tells him to be more grateful next time. With a knowing smirk, Korin reflects on a past life where he and Crannel were frequent allies. He mentally ticks off the other top students, starting with Crannel, who is joyfully repairing his golem's core. He then glances at the knight Arisha, who is clearly still recovering from her defeat. The other knight, Doran, sits defeated, having lost all motivation to continue the exam. His survey is interrupted by the shocking sight of the druid Yule, lying completely motionless. He helps the dazed druid up, silently blaming Marie for going too far in her role as the exam's monster. Just then, the ground begins to tremble violently, putting him on high alert. He witnesses a massive stampede of forest animals, all fleeing in terror from something unseen. The terrified druid urges him to flee, but Korin remains puzzled, wondering what could be wrong with Murray. The narrative reveals Murray Dunaref is a true prodigy, an embodiment of success destined for greatness. For Murray, this exam was supposed to be a simple game where she controlled the difficulty. But now, she struggles to even breathe, desperately trying to analyze her mysterious opponent. The nun suddenly lunges from above, launching a swift and deadly attack. In response, Murray unleashes a vortex of razor-sharp ice to defend herself. Her opponent effortlessly shatters the ice barrier, continuing her relentless advance. Realizing her spells are useless, Marie is forced to consider using more powerful magic. In fact, she had already broken her promise and cast several advanced spells, all to no avail. The prodigy finds it hard to accept that she's being pushed to her absolute limit. With a final, decisive blow, the nun shatters Marie's guard and sends her plummeting. The Academy's greatest mage slams into the earth, defeated by an unknown power. The mysterious nun steps forward, her shadow falling over the defeated and terrified Marie. Marie realizes she's not facing a person, but an overwhelming force of pure calamity. Wreathed in a menacing red aura, the nun continues her relentless, terrifying advance. In a desperate last stand, Marie reaches out a trembling hand to summon her remaining power. She unleashes a final burst of ice just as a voice commands the nun, Warren, to cease her attack. The sky fills with strange, digital squares, signaling the arrival of a powerful new figure. Professor Josephine materializes to catch the falling Marie, asking if she's unharmed. Marie weakly insists she is fine, though her body is clearly on the verge of collapse. Her strength finally fails, and the Academy's top mage crumples to the ground unconscious. Professor Josephine looks on with a grim and serious expression, taking in the chaotic scene. The narrator reflects that the day's practice training concluded with many surprising results. The first surprise was a low-tier student, Korin himself, achieving the highest score. The second was the intense conflict between the first-year ace, Warren, and the now-defeated second-year ace, Marie. Korin worries that Marie's early defeat might have altered the future he knows from his past life. He dismisses his concerns, realizing he still has 3 weeks to prepare for her eventual transformation. With a new plan in mind, he ventures to the outskirts of the hunting grounds forest. He is there to meet a specific individual who resides deep within the woods. Before proceeding, he bizarrely begins to apply a large amount of eye drops. He then stages a clumsy fall, conveniently dropping a glowing object as he tumbles. His accident was a deliberate act to get caught in a hidden trap, leaving him hanging upside down. He puts on a dramatic performance, wailing as the precious seed from his mother splashes into a pond. A mysterious voice questions his sorrow, and Korin's feigned tears hide a triumphant smirk. His target has taken the bait. This was all a calculated move to trigger a one-time hidden event, an audience with the god of the forest. The event is a twist on a classic folktale, where a god tests a person's honesty about a lost item. In the game, players discover this god only responded to lost weaponry, a well-known game mechanic. But Korin knows a secret exploit only a fool would toss in a pricey mandrake seed, which surprisingly also triggers the event. The god tests him, first offering a golden seed which Korin dutifully refuses. Next, he's presented with a silver seed and again, Korin denies it's his. Finally, the god shows him the original seed, and Korin tearfully confirms it's the one he lost, playing his part perfectly. As a reward for his supposed honesty, the god bestows upon him all 3 seeds, the original, the silver, and the golden one. Korin respectfully bids farewell as the forest god disappears back into the pond. The moment the god is gone, his respectful act drops, revealing a greedy grin as he celebrates his successful scam. He recalls the immense power these rare golden and silver seeds grant, far surpassing a regular mandrake. He remembers how these powerful seeds were split between him and an ally in his past life, but now, he possesses them all. His thoughts shift to the future, specifically to the event in 3 weeks that turns Murray into a fearsome vampire boss. He stands outside the academy, contemplating the specifics of Murray's transformation, confident he has enough time to prepare. He reveals his exam performance was a calculated move to gain the attention of the powerful second-year students. He plans to recruit the top students he defeated once they've recovered, forming a powerful party under his command. His ultimate goal for this new party is to confront and defeat the final boss of the game's first chapter. The target of his plan, Marie Dunarev, sits alone, unaware of the grim fate that awaits her in just 3 weeks. Marie's attendant leans over her bed, trying to rouse the defeated mage. As Marie finally awakens, her friend rushes to her side, frantic with worry. The prodigy silently reflects on her opponent's unfair advantage during the supposedly simple exam. Korin gazes out a window, confident he can save Marie from her grim future. His plan involves rigorously training the swordswoman Arisha for the coming battle. He also intends to hire the formidable mercenary, Doran of Agam. The next step is persuading the powerful druid of Avlarn Forest to join his party. Finally, he must befriend Cranel the Golem Master to complete his elite team. Korin smacks his hands together, satisfied with his perfect plan to alter fate. He hopes for no unexpected hitches, unaware a sinister red eye already signals a coming change. Marie's attendant recoils in horror, her face illuminated by a sinister red glow. The newly transformed Marie lunges forward, her fangs bared and eyes burning with a vampiric hunger. Elsewhere, Korin slaps a book shut, bored with his studies and ready to enact the next phase of his plan. At her desk, Professor Josephine regrets her decision, vowing to personally oversee the education of the student she's confined. That student, Warren, stares out from her room, already plotting an escape from her confinement. Her escape plan is interrupted by Korin, who suddenly drops into view outside her window. Hanging upside down, he casually reintroduces himself from his precarious perch on a tree branch, asking to be let in. As a peace offering, he presents a slice of cake, hoping to win over the powerful but isolated nun. Brushing off her concerns about the rules, he passes her the gift and confirms for himself that she is unharmed. He correctly deduces her confinement is due to her demonic nature, a fact he plans to use to his advantage. Warren reveals Professor Josephine hasn't visited in for days. Just as the branch beneath Korin snaps, he's stunned to learn the professor hasn't been to her room even once, a detail Warren confirms. The fall activates his regeneration skill, instantly healing the damage from the painful landing. After waving goodbye, he realizes Josephine abandoning her post means something is terribly wrong. A sense of urgency takes over as he sprints through the academy grounds. He spots two prominent professors rushing by, their agitated state confirming his suspicions. A guard blocks his path to the infirmary, and a horrifying possibility dawns on Korin. He quickly changes tactics, offering the guard food and drink under the guise of a delivery from Josephine. As the guard accepts the bribe, Korin recalls that Marie's attendant has also gone missing. He realizes a guard posted at the infirmary is highly unusual, solidifying his grim theory. Korin feigns concern as the guard suddenly clutches his stomach, the drugged meal taking effect. The guard frantically begs him to stand watch before rushing off, and Korin slyly promises not to take a single step inside. The moment he's alone, Korin's face fills with dread. This isn't supposed to happen for another few weeks. He clenches his fist on the door handle, desperately hoping that his grim theory is wrong. Korin bursts into the infirmary to find not one, but two people lying in the beds. He's stunned to see the missing attendant, Isabel, unconscious, realizing she was another victim. Looking at Marie's neck, he sees the undeniable evidence of her transformation, the secret the professors tried to hide. His worst fears are confirmed. Marie has already become a vampire, the final boss of the first chapter. He lets out a heavy sigh, realizing the entire catastrophic event has occurred 3 weeks ahead of schedule. His mind races, recalling the boss fight's first phase, surviving relentless waves of monsters. He recalls the boss fight's second phase, which involves enduring Marie's relentless magical onslaught. To survive, a party must withstand her attacks and deal enough damage to turn the tide of battle. This would then trigger the third phase, summoning an even greater threat. His plan required confronting her powerful familiar within its terrifying domain of blood. Defeating the familiar is the only way to activate the final phase and create an opening to save Marie. Korin was confident his chosen team of first years could have made it to the third phase. His confident smirk fades as he begins to question if his plan was truly flawless. He suddenly remembers that Arisha is still injured and Doran's weapon is damaged, both by his own hand. The horrifying truth dawns on him. He also destroyed Cranel's golem, neutralizing every single person he needed to recruit. Korin clutches his head in sheer panic, realizing his own actions have left him completely unprepared and utterly doomed. He recalls that in the original story, Marie's rampage was triggered by an encounter with the notorious serial killer. His original plan involved his elite team subduing her, but he now sees he's made a complete mess of the timeline. He winces, remembering how his own attack left Arisha with broken bones and unable to fight. Compounding his error, he also destroyed Cranel's golem core, neutralizing another key ally. Korin considers asking the powerful Warren for help, but dismisses her as too unpredictable. Desperate, he approaches the mercenary Doran with a special-tier request to subdue a target non-lethally. Doran initially refuses, pointing out that Korin himself destroyed his weapons, until a hefty sum of gold is offered. To seal the deal, Korin presents a rare card of pure soul dust, which Doran snatches instantly. His eyes gleaming at the lucrative offer, Doran eagerly accepts the job, officially joining Korin's party. Meanwhile in the library, a mysterious figure is stunned to find someone knows a secret supposedly lost. When the Avalern forest burned, he approaches the mysterious figure, revealing he knows she's searching for the lost glyphs of her people. In exchange for her help, he offers to teach her everything she wants to know about the ancient alphabet. After a moment of hesitation, Yule the Druid agrees to his terms, officially joining his party. Korin internally celebrates another successful recruitment for his makeshift team. His next recruitment pitch is brutally honest, promising a dangerous mission with a high chance of death. His potential recruits seem completely unfazed, leading Korin to believe his pitch has failed. Their deadpan expressions suddenly break into wild grins. Thrilled by the sheer insanity of the proposal, he mentally pats himself on the back, having assembled the bare minimum team needed to survive the first phase. His makeshift party is now assembled, a motley crew he believes is just enough to handle the coming threat. Meanwhile, a sinister young man laments how difficult it was to deal with his target, who fled into the woods. He deduces that Marie must be hiding in the Academy's only forest, the hunting grounds. As his new team questions how they'll find her in the vast woods, Corin remains mysteriously confident. He turns to Yule the druid, whose nervous expression reveals she's the key to his plan. With a reluctant sigh, Yule slams her staff into the ground, preparing to use her unique abilities. She channels her power, calling upon the spirits of nature to guide them to their target. The rest of the party watches in awe as dozens of nature spirits answer her call. Unable to see the spirits himself, Corin impatiently asks Yule for an update on their search. The entire party suddenly backs away, staring at him with a mix of fear and confusion. Yule reveals the spirits located Marie right in front of them, just as a monstrous creature ambushes Corin from behind. The sheer force of the attack sends him flying, leaving him stunned and wondering what just happened. Doran's companion yells a warning as a horde of demonic beasts charges forward. The party is stunned, refusing to believe Marie is the source of these monstrous creatures. Lark grits his teeth, channeling magic from his grimoire to prepare a counterattack. A new, fiery-haired warrior named Jaeger Peter grins, thrilled by the prospect of a good warm-up fight. Jaeger recklessly dives into the horde, forcing Doran to shout a warning about being overwhelmed. Corin calmly takes command, ordering a strategic retreat and assigning Lark to a support position. He continues directing the team, trusting Doran to hold the front line without pushing too far forward. From the back line, Yule kneels and unleashes a powerful green light, providing crucial support to the team. Doran observes Corin with new respect, impressed by his calm demeanor and flawless tactical commands. As he cuts down another beast, Doran realizes Corin fights like a seasoned commander. Questioning the Academy's flawed evaluation system, Doran questions Yuel's accuracy, seeing only a horde of beasts where Marie should be. Lark theorizes that Marie is controlling the creatures, as they are moving in an unnaturally large pack. He notes their extreme bloodlust before suddenly realizing his own theory doesn't add up. Corin cuts down a monster, arguing Marie isn't a puppeteer and the attacks are far too chaotic to be her work. Standing amidst the fallen beast, Corin cryptically reveals they aren't attacking the party at all. He explains that the beasts are acting on pure instinct, which only happens when they are fleeing a greater threat. The entire party flinches, a wave of dread washing over them as they understand the terrifying implication. A corrupted Marie emerges from the shadows, her face obscured by a dark mask and her eyes glowing with malevolent red energy. Corin instantly takes command, ordering his support mages to the rear as they prepare for the real fight. He positions Doran and Jaeger behind him for support, earning a confident grin from the mercenary who trusts his plan. Corin declares with grim determination that he will personally handle the front line. A system window confirms Marie's world-level importance, granting Corin a massive 50% stat boost. He grips his weapon, understanding the system now views this encounter as a pivotal moment for the world's fate. His new quest objective materializes: stop Marie Dinarv to take a step closer to saving the world. With his team ready behind him, Corin steels himself for the fight ahead. A critical system warning appears, revealing his mission to stop Marie directly conflicts with his vow to protect good people. As the corrupted Marie shambles forward, the entire game scenario begins to reload around them. The quest objective shatters and reforms, now commanding him to save Marie from her tragic fate. Despite her monstrous transformation, tears stream from Marie's glowing red eyes as she stumbles forward in agony. Yule points out Marie's tears in shock, but Lark coldly states that her suffering changes nothing about their mission. Lark ignores Marie's tears, bringing his sword down to fulfill their mission of defeating the demon. Corin's eyes widen in surprise as the expected outcome doesn't happen. Lark's powerful layered steel blade is stopped cold by a surge of red lightning, shocking him. Yule identifies the new entity as Marie's familiar, a powerful beast she somehow created in less than a week. Corin calmly dismisses the familiar as a weak newborn, separated from its master and acting purely on instinct. Doran expresses concern about the familiar's defensive capabilities, but Corin remains unbothered. As Marie unleashes a wave of dark energy, Corin coolly identifies it as an incoming area of effect skill. He immediately calls for Yule, who is already channeling a powerful green light in response. Yule slams her hand to the ground, reminding them that the forest is her territory. She unleashes her rapid growth and spirit's protection skills, causing a massive wall of magical plants to erupt and shield the party. Yule strains against the immense pressure, struggling to maintain her magical barrier. Jaeger panics about the wall cracking while Lark nervously tells him to be quiet. The druid grits her teeth, revealing the defensive spell just drained half of her mana. Despite her lingering trauma from the last encounter, she resolves to hold on as Corrin asks about her limits. Her determination is fueled by a promise from Corrin, who confidently plans to end the fight in 5 moves. A panning Yule questions his bold claim, but Corrin's response is one of unwavering confidence. He reveals that this corrupted version of Murray is precisely why his plan will work. As she gathers dark energy, Corrin's mind races, breaking down the fight into 4 distinct phases, starting with the Beast Horde. He recalls that Murray only enters the fight in Phase 2, and her familiar doesn't appear until much later. This critical detail means Murray is currently holding back her true power. For the final stage of the battle, Corrin recalls this exact attack pattern, a detail consistent with both the game and his past life. He shocks Lark by revealing he's been meticulously calculating everyone's remaining mana. Corrin orders the depleted mage to retreat, positioning him safely at the very back of the group. He internally notes that the previous horde was a threat of quantity, not individual power. The real danger, he knows, is the powerful alchemic spell Murray is preparing to unleash. With a determined glare, Corrin's eyes glow as he anticipates the incoming assault. A system window identifies Murray's next move, an alchemic spell called Frostify. The spell manifests as explosive red crystals that completely shatter Yuel's defensive wall. The party looks up in terror as the deadly shrapnel rains down upon them. Undeterred, Yule begins chanting a new spell, calling on the power of the earth itself for protection. Yule chants, invoking a series of ancient, glowing glyphs. A crown of magical vines forms above her head as she channels immense natural energy. The ground rumbles violently, and Corrin realizes his plan is working perfectly. He reveals that while he engraved the glyphs, only a pure-blooded druid like Yule could ever activate them. Corrin recognizes this as Yuel's secret ultimate skill, a power that makes her the sage of the forest. Jaeger and Lark stare in utter disbelief as Yule becomes the very mouthpiece of nature. This ultimate skill has been passed down for 1,000 years by a race beloved by nature spirits. A colossal Wickerman puppet erupts from the earth, its sheer size leaving the party speechless. Yule is shocked it actually worked, while Corrin smirks, knowing he bent the rules to make this happen. Corrin immediately orders a stunned Jaeger to find a live owlbear and throw it to the new golem. Jaeger confirms he found the live owlbear, as Corrin smugly reveals he prepared this contingency in advance. Following Corrin's order, Jaeger nervously throws the live owlbear towards the giant golem. The creature slams into the Wickerman's chest, becoming absorbed as a living sacrifice. A surge of golden energy erupts from the golem, which lets out a powerful roar that stuns Jaeger. The Wickerman is revealed to be a magical weapon fueled by a sacrifice, fighting until its power source is exhausted. With its eyes glowing ominously, Yule directs the newly activated Wickerman to attack. The golem obeys, swinging its massive arm and unleashing a devastating blast of green energy. Yule strains under the immense pressure, as Corrin notes that maintaining the golem is draining her completely. He sternly reminds a struggling Yule that their lives depend on her holding on, no matter the cost. The colossal Wickerman towers over a defiant Murray, enduring explosive counterattacks as it closes in. Enraged, Murray hurtles through the air, unleashing a torrent of dark, spiky projectiles. Corrin confidently explains that the Wickerman, an artificial construct, can easily endure Murray's attacks. His confidence wavers as Murray conjures a colossal, dark weapon, proving his assumptions wrong. The wicked blade plunges directly into the Wickerman's chest, striking its fiery core. Corrin watches in disbelief as the golem's life-giving flame is instantly extinguished. The massive, deactivated golem comes crashing down, forcing the party to scatter in panic. Corrin grits his teeth, realizing his common sense from the game is useless against this new reality. Murray stands triumphant, radiating the immense power of a special tier entity. As Yule collapses from the strain, Corrin urgently orders her to fall back immediately. With his ultimate plan shattered, Corrin's expression hardens as he prepares for the final, desperate phase of the battle. Yule tries to argue, but Corrin firmly tells her there's nothing more she can do. A worried Jaeger watches Yule retreat, nervously asking Corrin if they can possibly win alone. Corrin reveals their opening, explaining that Murray has just exhausted all her wide-area attacks. With glowing red eyes, he declares it's time to counterattack and charges forward, leaving his team behind. A panicked Jaeger and a determined Lark are forced to sprint to keep up with Corrin's reckless assault. Murray meets their charge with a furious glare, conjuring a storm of dark, crimson projectiles. The trio skillfully dodges the onslaught, weaving through the deadly barrage of energy spikes. Lark activates a skill, enveloping his blade in red energy to accelerate his attack. His supercharged sword slams into a swirling red barrier, failing to pierce Marie's defense. Lark curses in frustration, realizing just how powerful her defensive shield truly is. Jaeger leaps into the air, unleashing a furious, spinning strike against Marie's shield. His weapon smashes into the barrier with a deafening clang, finally shattering her defense. Korin smirks, revealing Jaeger's special trait, a mass destruction, which boosts his power with every swing. As Jaeger celebrates prematurely, Korin internally curses his foolishness for letting his guard down. A system window announces the activation of Phase 3 as Marie's eye glows with malevolent power. She unleashes her ultimate technique, trapping them all within the terrifying domain of blood. A dark, crackling vortex of energy swirls around them, sealing off any chance of escape. From the blood-soaked ground, a massive mace and a sword ominously materialize. The sudden eruption of power sends the party reeling, struggling to keep their footing. Korin grimly realizes they've fallen into her trap, a domain that activates the instant. Her shield is destroyed. Marie hovers within her domain, a prison of blood from which there is no escape. A monstrous beast of pure blood energy materializes before Korin, its glowing eyes fixed on him. A flashback reveals Marie's surprise at being the sole survivor, recalling a rule about needing 3 members for this phase. In another memory, a lone warrior stands undaunted, convinced that victory is inevitable regardless of the odds. The scene shifts to a foreboding building at night, the site of a past, desperate struggle for survival. Inside, the world blurs as a strange, unsettling presence fills the air, distorting reality. Marie remembers a chilling cold spreading through her body, contrasted by a burning thirst in her throat. Her eye glows with a terrifying red light, consumed by an overwhelming, predatory hunger. Her gaze falls upon a terrified classmate, whose throat suddenly becomes the sole focus of her insatiable craving. Overcome by instinct, Marie lunges forward, her newly formed fangs sinking into her unsuspecting victim. The flashback reveals Marie's perspective as she overcomes her victim, whose terror is reflected in her glasses. Indifferent to her friend's struggle, Marie acts on pure instinct, completely lost to her newfound hunger. As she drains her classmate's life force, a strange warmth spreads through her, chasing away the unnatural cold. The sudden rush of power transforms her body, leaving her dazed and deaf to the world around her. Her senses narrow, blocking out everything except the changes happening within. All that remains is the sound of her own pounding heart and the overwhelming scent of blood. The warmth vanishes as the horrifying reality sets in, revealing the terrible aftermath of her actions. Under the full moon, Marie is struck by a moment of clarity and crushing guilt over what she has done. She weeps, horrified that she attacked her friend with less emotion than a predator hunting its prey. Realizing she had treated a person like an animal, she clutches her stomach, still tormented by a ravenous hunger. Overwhelmed by her actions, Marie fled deep into the forest, running from what she had become. Her past collides with the present as Korin stands ready to confront the monster she now is. The flashback ends, and Korin faces the massive blood beast as it roars with primal fury. The creature's chest swells, gathering a tremendous amount of dark energy for an attack. It unleashes a volley of spiky, crimson projectiles, aiming to overwhelm Korin completely. Refusing to be intimidated, Korin prepares to unleash one of his ultimate spear techniques. He executes the whirling sky technique, a spinning assault that effortlessly carves through the barrage. Enraged by his defiance, the blood beast clenches its fist, preparing a different kind of assault. Instead of attacking directly, it summons smaller bloodhounds that surge forward to swarm him. Korin grins, completely unfazed by the numbers, and charges headfirst into the pack of monsters. Korin expertly slides under one bloodhound while leaping over another, evading their pincer attack. He grips his spear, preparing to unleash the 5th of his 6 ultimate spear techniques. Korin executes the Mountain Destroyer, a powerful throw that skewers to hounds in a single strike. Catching his returning spear, he questions if this pathetic display is all the beast can muster. He turns with a taunting smirk, dismissing the hounds as all bark and no bite. The main blood beast glares with pure fury, enraged by Korin's arrogance. In a flash of red, the massive creature vanishes from sight, leaving Korin alone. Korin realizes it didn't disappear, but is simply moving faster than his eyes can follow. A confident smirk plays on his lips as he prepares to impart some wisdom to the beast. He coolly states that speed alone is never enough to win a fight as the creature reappears. He explains that true mastery lies not in speed, but in knowing the perfect moment to strike. A darker, more ruthless persona emerges, sneering that he has already seen through the beast's predictable attacks. This new self prepares an ultimate technique, channeling the power of a mythical serpent. A sphere of immense destructive energy crackles into existence, warping the very air around it. He unleashes the technique, sending a cataclysmic wave of power tearing through the domain. The attack dissipates, leaving behind a sky filled with glowing red fragments of shattered energy. Korin stands over the fallen blood beast, coughing from the sheer exertion of his final gambit. Despite its defeat, the creature struggles to rise, its loyalty to its creator unwavering. Korin acknowledges its devotion, telling the beast to rest while he handles the real problem. With his gaze fixed forward, he declares his intention to go and save the beast mother, Marie. Marie advances, her body consumed by a crimson aura as she enters the final phase of the battle. A system alert clarifies that this deadly stage is triggered when she critically injures a party member. The last battle commences, a fight that is supposedly impossible for a single person to overcome. Korin recalls the original strategy, where teammates would have to attack Marie to break her focus. With feral fury, Marie leaps onto him, just as the game mechanics intended for her to do. Korin's determined gaze reveals his grim reality. He has no allies to save him now. She forcefully pins him down, her fangs finding their mark on his shoulder. As his life force is drained away, a system window confirms Marie's health and mana are being restored. Unfazed by the excruciating pain, Korin clenches his fist, his will to fight burning brighter than ever. He reveals his secret weapon, an ability that allows him to regenerate endlessly as long as his spirit remains unbroken. He endures the pain, determined to restore the kindness she once showed the world. A memory surfaces of a younger, innocent Marie, cheerfully offering potatoes to others. As an adult, he takes responsibility, gently patting her head with a steady hand. Instead of fighting back, he holds her close, calmly telling her to slow down. Marie pulls away, tears streaming from her eyes as his gentle gesture seems to reach her. A flicker of her true self returns, horrified by her own monstrous actions. Korin recalls the lore of the first vampire, a great commander who succumbed to his bloodlust. He remembers that in the original story, Marie fought her urges for a month and never took a human life. Through sheer force of will, she had managed to control her thirst until she was finally captured. Believing her tragic fate was undeserved, he resolves to create a new, happier ending for her. As his wounds magically seal, Marie's voice, full of remorse, breaks through her monster state. Overwhelmed with guilt, she apologizes repeatedly. But Korin's thoughts reveal he never held her actions against her. He reflects that his past self might have treated her as a mere game character, a cold perspective he now rejects. Korin remembers his late mentor, who taught him that an adult's duty is to protect the young, a lesson she sealed with her own sacrifice. Embracing this philosophy, he decides to act like an adult and shoulder the responsibility of protecting Marie. With newfound resolve, he internally rejects the path of his rival, choosing compassion over cold calculation. A system notification confirms his victory, granting him significant rewards and a massive boost to his stats. The scene changes to a magical prison, the sphere of imprisonment, where a familiar character is about to enjoy a meal. Marie, now back to her normal self, savors a simple potato with pure delight. She is shocked to see Korin on the other side of a cell door, who greets her with a confident smirk from his own confinement. The warden questions his decision, but Korin's absolute trust in Marie grants him entry into her cell. He steps inside to find Marie choking on her food, immediately telling her to slow down. Korin sighs with exasperation, criticizing the prison for not even providing her with water for her meal. Marie's face lights up, happily declaring that her love for potatoes remains as strong as ever. Caught up in the moment, she leans in close, her sudden proximity causing her to blush furiously. She flails in embarrassment, but Korin playfully dismisses her concerns, calling them even on hygiene. After she retreats to a corner in a huff, he sits down, calmly reassuring her that her worries are unfounded. His playful demeanor fades as he recalls her earlier confession, his expression turning serious. In a flashback, a terrified Marie admits she was petrified of Warren and felt utterly helpless. Korin realizes his actions have inadvertently sparked a change in Marie, inspiring her to seek strength. He learns that Warren's full-powered assault on Marie was the trigger that awakened her dormant vampiric nature. Marie reveals she admired how he always defied expectations and succeeded, even when everyone else laughed at him. Korin brushes off the praise, humbly stating that his only real motivation is a preference for happy endings. His simple, almost childish reason leaves Marie completely bewildered. He explains his love for classic stories where the good guy wins, and the bad guy gets what they deserve. Looking at a memory of her smiling, he declares his firm belief that she is a good person. He continues to compliment her, concluding that a happy ending is the only one that truly matters. Korin then confesses his ultimate goal is to see her become happy, causing Marie to blush furiously. Overwhelmed, she stammers excuses to make him leave, but he simply agrees to go. With a cheerful wave, Korin steps out of the cell, leaving a flustered Marie and an unamused warden behind. As Korin leaves, Marie offers a small smile, thanking him for his encouraging words. Once alone, she collapses to the floor, consumed by doubt over whether she even deserves happiness. Meanwhile, Korin walks through the academy, reflecting on Marie's temporary isolation from the other students. He compares her situation to Warren, who roams the grounds freely despite her demonic nature. Korin muses that most people fail to recognize the true danger both women represent. His thoughts are interrupted when an unfamiliar voice calls out his name, causing him to stop. He turns to find the academy's director Kasar standing behind him, a rare and unexpected encounter. The director approaches, inquiring about Korin's well-being before revealing the purpose of his visit. Korin flinches in shock when the director states he is there to discuss Marie's punishment. His mind reels, horrified that the happy ending he fought so hard for is suddenly at risk. Korin frantically tries to interject, but the director coldly informs him that Marie's fate has already been sealed. He demands to be heard, questioning how they could judge her so hastily without his first-hand account. Just as Korin begins to defend her, the director's amusement cuts him short. Revealing there will be no punishment, the director offers a knowing smile, leaving Korin completely baffled by the unexpected turn of events. Kasar reveals he never saw Marie as a threat, and simply wanted to test the conviction of her defender. He reassures Korin that her confinement will end after a routine safety inspection. With the main issue settled, the director now requests Korin's detailed account of the incident. Korin carefully recounts the events, painting a picture of Marie as a victim, not a monster. He reflects on his testimony, hoping he conveyed his unwavering belief in her innocence. The director thoughtfully strokes his chin, deciding an official statement is needed, but one that omits the more sensitive details. The director announces that with the facts laid bare, it's time for him to do his duty. He then stuns Korin by bowing deeply in gratitude. Taking full responsibility, the director thanks Korin for handling a crisis the adults failed to prevent, and offers him any reward. Korin smirks, internally acknowledging the director's admirable trait of shouldering responsibility. He reflects on his own past failures, seeing the director as a stark contrast to them. Holding on to his renewed faith and goodwill, Korin simply asks the director to raise his head. The director obliges with a gentle, knowing smile. Elsewhere, Marie sits alone in her room, consumed by her dark thoughts. A flashback shows Korin gently patting her back. His warm touch is stark contrast to her cold despair. His simple act of reassurance was enough to pull her back from the edge, grounding her spiraling thoughts. After regaining her humanity, Marie is overwhelmed with guilt, whispering apologies into the darkness. All she could do was repeat those apologies, crushed by the weight of her monstrous actions. She questions her right to forgiveness, tormented by the thought of what she almost did to her friends. Believing she deserved punishment, Marie willingly accepted her magical confinement, locking herself away. Though she put on a brave face for Korin, she was secretly crumbling under the emotional strain. In her own mind, she was nothing more than a savage beast, a demon who preyed on humans. But the memory of Korin's simple wish for her happiness cut through her dark thoughts. His sincere words, backed by his selfless sacrifice, resonated deeper than any of her fears. She recalls his unwavering devotion, a stark contrast to the monster she believed herself to be, hiding under her blanket. Marie's thoughts are now filled with the flustered memory of her kind Mr. First Year. Marie realizes this chapter of her life and Korin's kindness will forever be etched in her memory. Elsewhere, Korin's twitches as he overhears some fresh gossip spreading through the academy. A week after the incident, students are still buzzing about Marie. The top student some dismissively call Potato Girl. The initial uproar about her demonic nature had quieted down, especially since Warren's presence set a precedent. Korin grows concerned listening to rumors that Marie is still in isolation, a week after she was supposed to be released. In reality, Marie's official confinement had ended, and she was free to walk the halls again. Her friend Isabel searches for her, turning at every call of Marie's name, only to find she's nowhere in sight. Despite the welcoming faces of her peers, Marie remains conspicuously absent from the crowd. Just because the academy freed her didn't mean she was ready to release herself from her own prison of guilt. Haunted by the memory of her attack, Marie chooses self-isolation, convinced it's the only way to protect her friends. Marie's eyes narrow with grim resolve as she comes to a difficult conclusion. Believing it's the only way to protect everyone, she decides she must leave the academy for good. Her solitary brooding is suddenly interrupted by an unexpected knock at her door. Cautiously, she cracks the door open, wondering who would seek her out at this hour. To her utter shock, her friend Isabel burst in, pulling her into a tight embrace. A tearful Isabel frantically checks on her, desperate to know if she's been hurt. Marie tries to push her away, flustered by the visit and Isabel's accusations of avoiding her. She finally voices her deepest fear, asking why Isabel isn't scared of her. Isabel simply smirks, revealing she remembers everything from that night before she lost consciousness. She recalls seeing Marie's absolute horror the instant she realized she had attacked her friend. Reaching for Marie, Isabelle promises that their friendship is unconditional. Holding Marie's face, she asks for the same promise, leaving Marie speechless and overwhelmed. Overcome with relief, Marie breaks down as Isabelle connects her self-isolation to her fear of being hated. Isabelle cheerfully explains she was kept in the hospital and only managed to leave with the first year's help. Suddenly confused, Marie looks for the mysterious first-year student Isabelle mentioned. Meanwhile, Corin walks away, knowing their friendship was too strong to be broken by such an incident. Hiding her face in her hands, Marie is flustered by the realization that her Mr. First year helped her yet again. As she peeks through her fingers, her mind finally connects the kind stranger to a single name, Corin. As a new day dawns, the narrative announces that the first chapter of this tale has come to a close. He reflects on forging a happy ending that defied both the original game's script and his own past. He smirks, fully embracing the chaotic, but ultimately better path he's carved for himself and his friends. The world keeps turning, unconcerned with the designated main player of the original story. Corin stands confidently, having proven that a better fate can be achieved by ignoring the game's rigid script. He smiles, certain that this moment marks the true beginning of a new world he can shape himself. Corin's life falls into a dreary but disciplined routine of classes, meals, and endless hours in the training room. This intense training is driven by a single purpose: to become strong enough for a major threat looming on the horizon. He hones his skills, unleashing the ascending snake technique with a swirl of deadly purple energy. The sound of clapping snaps him out of his focus, and he looks up in surprise to find his audience. The admirer is none other than Marie, who happily praises his impressive skills and dedication. As a reward for his hard work, she unveils a massive meal, much to Corin's dismay as he realizes every dish is potato-based. Despite the potato-heavy menu, Corin accepts the meal, and Marie happily encourages him to eat his fill. Her cheerful demeanor vanishes as she notices blood dripping from his injured hand, her vampiric instincts taking over. He questions her intense stare, oblivious to her inner panic as she realizes she was practically salivating. Corin casually asks about her blood supply, prompting her to show him a standard pack she keeps on hand. She nearly blurts out how delicious his blood smells, leading him to wonder if it's like the difference between organic and non-organic food. Marie offers a grimmer analogy: fresh versus frozen meat, while he nonchalantly munches on a potato dish. With a sly look, she implies she wouldn't mind the occasional fresh alternative, leaving him utterly confused. She bluntly clarifies her offer to drink his blood, immediately turning beet red at her own audacious suggestion. Unfazed, Corin leans in with a smirk, casually offering himself up whenever she gets tired of blood bags. Desperate to change the subject, she shoves a potion at him, revealing it's her own blood, a powerful magical ingredient. Without a second thought, Corin chugs the entire potion as Marie watches with a blush. System messages flood his vision, confirming a massive boost to his stats and aura from the special elixir. A surge of power envelops Corin, who notes the elixir's foul taste is a small price for its incredible potency. He grins with newfound confidence, realizing this power-up gives him the edge he needs for an upcoming scheme. The scene shifts to introduce Arisha Aiden, a second-tier knight from the prestigious House of Aiden. She walks through the town, her life having taken a dramatic turn recently. A flashback reveals her motivation: an encounter with a surprisingly strong fifth-tier knight pushed her to train relentlessly. However, this newfound dedication was a very recent development, a stark contrast to her previous self. Before her wake-up call, her days were filled with simple pleasures, like stuffing her face with honeycomb candies. Inherently lazy, she once cared more for shopping and fashion than for wielding a sword. Completely ignoring her family's legacy, she revels in her newfound freedom from grueling training, constant criticism, and, most importantly, her overbearing sister. Her blissful celebration is cut short when Corin's voice suddenly interrupts her, catching her completely off guard. She nervously fumbles for an excuse about schoolwork when he points out she's been skipping her training. He then cheerfully offers her a spot on a lucrative mission he's planning, leaving her stunned. This constant attention from Corin, however, only makes her more miserable, as she feels her slacker lifestyle is being judged. His dedication serves as a harsh mirror, exposing the lazy reality behind her prestigious title as a second-tier knight. She recalls his merciless training methods and his relentless focus on the basics, which she finds utterly terrifying. But her fear is quickly replaced by greed when Corin mentions the reward to gold coins. With visions of shopping sprees dancing in her head, she eagerly accepts his offer to join the mission. He then sweetens the deal with an immediate short-term mission for 20 silver coins. and her greed completely takes over. Korin smirks, realizing Arisha's greed was the key to setting his next big plan in motion. Meanwhile, Arisha has a strange premonition, sensing that this day will be significant. The narrative explains that Arisha's favorite mission is a simple city patrol, requiring minimal effort. This is because the only threats are usually weak 4th or 5th tier demonic beasts. Strong or intermediate beasts are a rare sight, making the job incredibly safe and predictable. After easily dispatching a pack of them, she casually orders her subordinates to handle the cleanup. Her subordinates shower her with praise, and she basks in the effortless admiration. She inwardly delights in being called a prodigy, soaking up the flattery. But this praise is a stark contrast to the constant criticism from her family's elders. They always compared her to her far more talented older sister, Lunya. Deeming Arisha a failure in comparison, she smugly dismisses her family's insults, convinced she's far from incompetent. A subordinate asks about a nearby owlbear, and she proudly announces she's already dealt with it, earning his admiration. As night falls, she relaxes, confident that her patrol will conclude without any further trouble. Her peaceful evening is shattered by a green flare, a signal indicating the discovery of a high-level beast nest. One of her subordinates explains the flare is a special signal only visible through their gear, and they must now provide backup. Her dreams of an early night are crushed, as patrol duty obligates her to join the unexpected battle. While her subordinates cheer, confident in her skills, Korin smirks from the shadows, seeing the situation as perfect timing. The source of the signal is a nest of demonic wolves, commanded by a formidable Beowulf. Drawing on her previous experience fighting a similar beast, Arisha dispatches the Beowulf with ease. However, her victory is short-lived as a terrifying, spectral rider on a phantom steed materializes before her. Arisha stares in utter shock, her mind struggling to process the horrifying apparition before her. The creature is identified as a Dullahan, a terrifying first-tier demonic beast far beyond her pay grade. Annoyed by this unexpected turn, she resolves to use an incomplete but powerful family technique. Her sword meets the Dullahan's weapon in a blinding flash of light and steel. She unleashes the Aiden-style area slash, a massive wave of energy meant to cleave the beast in two. Her jaw drops as her ultimate attack fails to connect as planned. The Dullahan's body twists with unnatural flexibility, effortlessly dodging her powerful sword art. To her horror, a mysterious green-haired girl emerges from within the spectral beast. This girl is the true first-tier beast, using her own body as tendrils to pilot the Dullahan like a puppet. Casting aside all knightly pride, Arisha immediately screams for Korin to come and save her. Arisha wails in despair, learning from her subordinates that Korin is unavailable to save her. Suddenly, a brilliant slash of light cuts through the darkness, aimed directly at the monstrous beast. The Dullahan's head is instantly crushed by the overwhelming force of the surprise attack. As the skull shatters, Arisha looks up in bewilderment to see an unknown woman standing where the beast was. The tendrils release their grip, and Arisha collapses to the ground as the Dullahan's armor falls apart. Her would-be savior points a sword at her neck, criticizing her weakness with a chillingly familiar voice. The newcomer is revealed to be Lunya Aiden, the eldest daughter of her house and successor to a grand swordmaster. Arisha looks up in horror, recognizing the imposing figure as her older sister. Lunya's cold, judgmental gaze confirms she is the very person Arisha was so happy to escape. The prodigy of the Aiden family, Lunya, has arrived, much to Arisha's absolute terror. Arisha flinches on the ground as Lunya coldly calls her pathetic. Her sister relentlessly questions her every mistake, from failing to retreat to misjudging the enemy's power. Lunya's gaze is filled with contempt as she scorns Arisha's absurd swordsmanship. She then demands to know who Arisha was trying to copy with such an amateurish technique. Arisha can only apologize, but Lunya declares that her actions are too grave to be dismissed so easily. Lunya reminds her that this irresponsibility nearly cost the lives of the subordinates, who trusted her. As Arisha slumps in defeat, Lunya violently forces her to straighten her posture. She lectures her younger sister that a sword of the Aiden family must always carry itself with pride and nobility. Lunya's attention is suddenly drawn to Korin, who is conveniently practicing his spear nearby. She glares in his direction, suspecting he was only pretending to fight while secretly looking out for Arisha. Lunya announces her prestigious titles, while Korin simply introduces himself as Arisha's friend. He offers a casual bow, a stark contrast to the tense atmosphere. Lunya questions his relationship with her sister, but Korin already anticipates her suspicions. He internally notes that he can't reveal the source of his spear skills, as it's a rare art. A vision reveals that only to other individuals in the entire era share his mastery of the spear. Deciding he's not worth her time, Lunya turns to her elite squad of second-tier knights. This legendary unit, known as the Five Blades, consist of warriors who are all individually stronger than Arisha. She commands her squad to move out, ignoring any remaining beast in the area. Just as they're about to leave, Lunya calls out to her sister, making Arisha flinch in terror. The narrative sardonically comments on how swordsmen tend to travel in packs, like common thugs. A flashback reveals that 60 years ago, swordsmen formed sects that operated more like common gangs. This system eventually evolved into the prestigious House of Aiden, which established its own formidable training hall. Inside the hall, a commanding figure sips her drink and casually orders the lights to be turned on. The instructor of Merkava's Aiden training hall presides over her students, demanding their absolute obedience. Arisha kneels before this woman, formally introducing herself and paying respects to the First Lady of the Sword. The other disciples are stunned, confused as to why a direct descendant of the main house is bowing to an instructor. The instructor reviews Arisha's recent mission history, unimpressed by the list of minor exterminations and guard duties. She questions Arisha's decision to accept a trivial mission as a cafe helper, suspecting a personal connection. Arisha blushes furiously, admitting she only took the job because she thought the uniform was cute. The instructor's face remains cold and emotionless, completely unmoved by her subordinate's flimsy excuse. The instructor calmly sips her drink, calling Arisha's actions pathetic. She accuses Arisha of wasting the family's influence and deliberately shaming their name. The instructor scoffs at Arisha's desire to play hero against weaklings for cheap praise. Arisha flinches as the harsh words pierce her confidence. A haunting memory of a powerful figure reminds her she can never escape her true nature. Utterly broken, Arisha collapses to the floor, her spirit crushed. Later that night, a mysterious caged wagon rattles through the dark woods. The instructor and her elite squad are on the move, but her focus shifts from Arisha to Korin. Her subordinate reports that Korin is just an insignificant fifth-tier knight. The instructor finds this assessment impossible, realizing Merkava's ranking system is deeply flawed. She deduces Korin's focus was entirely on Arisha, his skills honed not by practice but by years of brutal experience. While his spear work seems simple, Lunya's expert eye saw something far more profound. She instantly recognized the ultimate form his spear technique was destined to become. A faint smile appears as she considers Korin a worthy companion for her sister. Recalling a request from the academy, gazing at the moon, she anticipates an opportunity to witness something remarkable. Meanwhile, the instructor from the Merkava training hall stands alone in the dark woods, deep in thought. In a flashback, Murray, affectionately called the Potato Girl, presents Korin with a lavish meal she prepared. He trembles upon learning the mutton is freshly butchered, a result of Murray's new slaughterhouse training. Overcome with emotion, Korin cries, touched that she would prepare such a feast while living on frozen rations herself. As he savors the meal, Murray excitedly grabs his hands, already planning to bring him braised oxtail next. Korin's charming smile sends Murray into a panic, forcing her to clarify if he's talking about the food. A flustered Murray changes the subject, admiring his large, scarred hands as proof of his hard work. He calls her name, snapping her out of her reverie with a jolt. Spotting Isabel nearby, Marie panics and flees while frantically denying any wrongdoing. Left utterly bewildered, Korin reflects on his cluelessness with women, blaming a certain someone from his past. He stares at the mountain of food she left, internally cursing the person who ruined his chances at romance. Korin contemplates how the connections he's forming now are vastly different from those in his previous life. He recalls his studious friendship with Yule, who would bring him rare mushrooms before their lessons on ancient alphabets. Then there's Doran, who viewed him less as a friend and more as a reliable partner for high-paying, difficult missions. And of course, there are his classmates who often join him on these missions, though their competence seems highly questionable. Korin spins around, expecting a demonic beast, but is instead met with a demand for lunch. A woman in a nun's habit approaches, reminding him of a promise he made. He recognizes Warren, wryly comparing her to a monster before questioning the lunch arrangement. A flashback reveals he once gave her a cake and casually offered to buy her lunch, a promise she clearly never forgot. His classmates spot the intimidating nun and hastily make excuses to flee the scene. Korin takes Warren to a fish restaurant, hoping his assumption about her cat-like nature was correct. He's horrified to see her about to devour a whole fish, head first. After a quick lecture on food etiquette, he expertly slices the fish for her. He proudly presents the beautifully arranged meal, insisting that food must be appreciated with all senses. Warren stares at the dish, mesmerized by his lecture on showing proper courtesy to a meal. Korin watches with a smug grin as Warren devours her meal, advising her to pace herself. His thoughts turn serious, knowing his new weapon is almost ready, signaling the start of a new chapter. The academy looms in the distance, the setting for this next stage of his plan. That new chapter begins with midterm exams, and one of his classmates is already having a complete meltdown. Yul scolds Doran for his last-minute panic, reminding him he was warned to study. Korin scoffs at the very idea of studying, mockingly asking if they're not worried about failing. He smirks, declaring he's on another level, and that acing the exam will be effortless. The students settle into the grand exam hall as the proctor officially begins the test. Korin eagerly grabs his exam paper, radiating an almost unsettling amount of confidence. But his smile falters as he reads the first question, a complex problem that might just challenge his bravado. Korin's heart sinks as he stares at the exam, utterly baffled by the question. After the test, Yul asks Korin how he did, while Jaeger boasts about a knight's limited academic needs. Jaeger's own paper is completely blank, having only managed to write his name before falling asleep. A tear of regret escapes Korin as he remembers his past life was spent on combat analysis, not academics. He furiously crushes the test paper, vowing to redeem himself in the next part of the exam. The students gather in the roaring festival hall for the highly anticipated practical exam. Korin stands in the arena, viewing the practical test as his one chance to salvage his midterm score. He recalls the objective: his team must fight an instructor to showcase their skills for a grade. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he plots to defeat his supposedly weak 5th-tier instructor for extra credit. As he prepares for an easy victory, he notices his classmates are frozen in terror, leaving him to wonder who their instructor is. Korin stands bewildered as a familiar voice greets him, leaving his teammates speechless. Descending the steps is none other than Isabel Aiden, the formidable instructor from the training hall. A wave of pure, unadulterated terror washes over Korin's face. His mind races, desperately trying to understand why this monster is his opponent. It's announced that the proctors are the legendary 5 blades of the first sword, Aiden's elite guard. The 5 blades discuss the battle, acknowledging Korin's skill as a potential problem. Arisha leads the charge, confident that their team's strength can overcome the instructors. Unfazed, the 5 blades step into formation, preparing a devastating coordinated assault. They unleash a synchronized combination attack, creating a massive explosion on the battlefield. The students are sent flying, their charge utterly broken by the overwhelming display of power. Thrown into chaos by the explosion, the students are easily picked off while one instructor coolly analyzes their tactical superiority. Refusing to be beaten, a student with white hair gathers her mana to cast a spell and clear their vision. A red-eyed instructor with twin blades leaps through the air, aiming to strike before the students can recover. The instructor, now identified as Illusion Blade Milia, calmly observes the unfolding ambush. Reacting with incredible speed, the student parries the surprise attack, her weapon barely holding against the instructor's assault. While Arisha is momentarily stunned, Doran rushes past, urging her to keep her focus on the battle. An instructor named Swiftblade Jenny intercepts Arisha, locking blades and declaring the student her personal target. Jenny destabilizes Arisha with a precise kick, confidently asserting that just 3 of them are needed to defeat the students. Sent stumbling backward, Arisha is chided by the instructor for her unstable and easily broken stance. The instructor follows up immediately, swinging her sword down at the now defenseless Arisha. The crowd is stunned into silence, witnessing the sheer dominance of Aiden's elite 5 blades. The students are completely outmatched, unable to react to the instructor's blinding speed as they are systematically taken down. Amidst the chaos, only Arisha and Doran seem to be holding their ground, though this appearance is deceiving. Doran reveals his true colors, summoning his layered steel blades with the calm focus of a seasoned warrior. The dust settles to reveal Milia surrounded by his 5 arcane blades, the tide of their duel clearly turning in his favor. Arisha, however, is having a much harder time, struggling to parry the instructor's relentless assault. The instructor effortlessly overpowers Arisha, criticizing her poor form and questioning her heritage as a swordmaster's heir. Leaning in close, the instructor suggests Arisha's skills are so poor she might be better off leaving the academy for their direct training. Enraged by the insult, Arisha defiantly pushes back, unleashing a surge of power to break the deadlock. Though she activates her special trait, the watching eye, her brief moment of clarity is shattered by a sudden, decisive strike. Arisha collapses, utterly defeated as the instructor chides her for losing focus at the most critical moment. Korin internally notes that this isn't how the story was supposed to go, questioning why Isabel Aiden is their proctor. With the 5 blades work done, Isabel herself steps forward to confront the remaining students. Her blade crackles with dark energy as she announces a practice fight against a special tier opponent. Korin and his teammates are frozen in stunned silence, processing the terrifying declaration. The narrative explains that special tiers are legendary monsters, each capable of destroying an entire army alone. These disastrous beings are so powerful that even dozens of elite guardians cannot guarantee victory against them. Korin sweats, recalling that most guardians go their whole lives without ever encountering such a rare and unbelievable threat. However, there are rare exceptions to this rule. Individuals who have faced these legendary monsters. Lunya Aiden was one such person, a warrior powerful enough to be considered a monster among monsters. A single, devastating attack from Isabel shatters the arena floor, sending shockwaves through the hall. From behind cover, Korin watches his classmates get tossed aside like ragdolls, noting the instructor's lethal intent. While Jaeger panics over their instructor's ferocity, Korin calmly assesses that she's actually going easy on them. Jaeger proudly reveals he rescued an unconscious classmate, but Korin dryly observes the boy might not have survived the rescue. Just as Korin warns him to stay conscious, Jaeger is suddenly struck down and eliminated from the fight. Isabel glares with utter contempt, disappointed by the sheer incompetence of her students. She calls out to the hiding Korin, who cheekily asks if surrendering is an option. As Korin raises his weapon, Isabel informs him that surrender means failure, a choice she knows he won't make. She challenges him to seize this rare chance to battle a truly powerful adversary. A confident smirk spreads across Korin's face as he recognizes her as Lunya Aiden. Just as he remembers, Korin recalls his past life, where he and Lunya were comrades who fought together countless times. He remembers that while his master taught him the spear, it was Lunya who taught him true combat, a foe he could never defeat. Determined to surpass her, Korin steels himself, knowing this is a necessary step to change his fate. Isabel acknowledges his resolve with a smile and lunges forward, initiating their high-stakes duel. Their weapons collide with explosive force, Korin straining to withstand the sheer power of her initial assault. The two become a whirlwind of motion, their blades clashing repeatedly as they test each other's defenses. Isabel fluidly transitions into a powerful thrust, aiming to pierce through Korin's guard. With gritted teeth, Korin deflects the stab, his spear barely holding against the focused might of her attack. As their battle rages, a defeated student watches in shock, questioning how a fifth-tier knight is keeping up. The student is utterly baffled, unable to believe a first-year is actually holding his own against the legendary Lunya Aiden. Korin grits his teeth, sweat pouring down his face as he struggles against the overwhelming pressure. He pants for breath while Isabel calmly taunts him for his failing stamina. She sheathes her sword, but Korin knows this is no act of mercy. He instantly recognizes her deadly posture as the infamous domain slash stance. Enveloped in a terrifying aura, Isabel prepares to unleash the Grand Swordmaster's ultimate skill. She becomes a blur of motion, her technique warping the very space around her. A chill runs down Korin's spine as he senses the lethal intent behind her attack. The watching students are aghast, questioning if their instructor is taking this practice fight too far. Even the other proctors panic, demanding the exam be stopped before she lands a fatal blow. An unseen force intercepts the intervening instructor with a powerful slash of their own, identified as the Aiden-style single blade. Korin's eye reflects the attack as he realizes the world around him has completely stopped. However, Lunya alone moves within this frozen world, her sword gliding forward with dreamlike slowness. In response, he unleashes his fastest spear attack, aiming to intercept her crystal-clear sword. Frustratingly, his spear trembles to a halt, completely frozen in place before it can make contact. Gritting his teeth, he understands his limitation. He can perceive the frozen world but cannot move within it. He flashes back to his fight with Marie, questioning if his ability to move in her domain was pure luck. He dismisses his self-doubt, a glint in his eye revealing his new resolve to take control. He understands that all he needs to do is take a single, decisive step forward. Lunya's calm demeanor shatters, her eyes widening in complete shock at the unexpected turn of events. A massive explosion of power erupts as Korin breaks through the frozen time to meet her attack head-on. The arena erupts in a cataclysmic explosion from the force of their collision. The watching proctors are left speechless as Korin realizes understanding the domain is a matter of instinct. Lunya stands within her own power, reflecting on the feeling of omnipotence that comes with mastering the domain. Her eyes gleam with approval, acknowledging that he has finally managed to react to her power. Korin stands firm, his own aura flaring as he successfully counters her ultimate technique. With the duel concluded, Lunya declares his exam over and casually suggests he upgrade his subpar weapon. She glances sideways, a subtle look revealing a hidden motive behind the entire confrontation. The camera reveals Arisha, watching the entire exchange with a look of utter, electrified shock. Korin pieces it all together, questioning if the entire fight was a demonstration for Arisha's benefit. He smirks, understanding that Lunya orchestrated this whole event because she, too, recognized Erisha's latent potential. Lunia admits defeat but claims she achieved her true goal, warning Korin not to interfere with her affairs. She gazes down at Korin, standing alone in the ruined arena, as she prepares to reveal her true intentions. With a cold glare, Lunia declares her ultimate objective, to personally destroy Erisha. Korin smirks with chilling confidence, certain that Erisha witnessing the domain has completely changed the game. He stands resolute amidst the destruction, a silent challenge to Lunia's bold declaration. An official announcement echoes through the hall, awarding Korin a perfect score and maximum credit for his performance. The other students whisper amongst themselves, utterly baffled by how a lone student could achieve such a feat against a legend. Even the proctors are stunned, questioning if Korin is truly just a fifth-tier knight. An elderly instructor recalls a crucial detail, identifying Korin as the student who trained against spiritual beings. Jaeger's father grips his glasses in disbelief, the name Korin Lok now seared into his mind. Jaeger's father looms in the darkness, his face a mask of pure fury and disbelief. He crushes his sunglasses, demanding to know how Korin could possibly use the Aiden family's secret technique. A few days later, Korin visits a blacksmith, ready to heed Lunia's advice and forge a new weapon. The blacksmith is suspicious, questioning how Korin knows his family's secret crafting methods. But Korin remains tight-lipped. Korin reveals a stash of priceless materials, far beyond what any normal student could ever afford. He recalls receiving the full, unquestioning support of the Academy's director, who bowed in deference. With a confident grin, Korin knows these resources are the key to creating a weapon that can defy the domain itself. The result is a legendary weapon, the glowing spear of the Silver Knights of the Realm of Shadows. In a different scene, a young girl panics as someone bleeds out, confused as to how a non-lethal weapon caused such a wound. A flashback reveals a grim battlefield, a stark reminder of the brutal reality of a true fight. The story shifts to a flashback, focusing on a young girl standing alone on a grim, red-hued battlefield. She stares down at the fallen, realizing for the first time the stark difference between slain monsters and the scent of human life ending. Her hands tremble around her blade as she's overwhelmed with horror, unable to process what she has done. The memory of that day is seared into her mind, a traumatic first encounter with the true weight of taking a life. Her eyes snap open, the reflection in them signaling a return to the present with a sharp resolve. Now older, Erisha sighs on a tram, begrudgingly accepting a mission to capture a Beowulf alive. She recalls turning down a far more dangerous urgent mission to hunt a serial killer. In the City of Mist, her past trauma makes her vehemently opposed to any mission that involves lethal danger. However, she grips a hidden dagger, hinting at a secret motive for choosing this particular quest. She thinks back to a mysterious figure who saved her long ago, wondering where her savior might be now. Erisha internally scoffs at the mission, dismissing a fifth-tier knight as nothing more than a baggage carrier. Her thoughts are interrupted by Korin, who cheerfully greets her on the same tram. The other guardians glare, unimpressed by Korin's low rank. But he's just relieved to be on Erisha's team. He enthusiastically takes her hand, declaring they should do their best together. Much to her surprise, Korin feels the intense stares from the others, banking on Erisha's prestigious background to keep him safe. He pulls her aside to a private balcony, pointedly asking about her eye and the power she's hiding. Erisha nervously asks if Lunia revealed her secret, and Korin bluffs to confirm her suspicions. He warns her that Lunia is dead serious about destroying her future as a swordswoman. Erisha casually suggests she'll simply have to give up the sword, turning away from him. Korin smirks, knowing with absolute certainty that she could never truly abandon her path. The mission begins in a dark forest, with the sounds of clashing steel signaling the start of their hunt. The party swiftly defeats the hounds and captures a Beowulf, but their simple mission is about to go horribly wrong. A thick, unnatural mist descends, and the party is suddenly ambushed by an overwhelming number of monsters. Amidst the chaos, a panicked guardian screams for Korin, wondering where the low-ranked knight has disappeared to. Meanwhile, Erisha cuts a path through the demonic beast, her skill being the only thing keeping the team alive. The threat intensifies as demonic spirits join the fray, a type of enemy that shouldn't even be in this area. Erisha's eyes widen in horror as she deduces that this coordinated attack isn't random. Someone is controlling the horde. A hulking knight in dark armor with glowing red eyes steps out of the mist, its menacing presence directed at Erisha. The figure attacks with immense force, and Erisha realizes she's not fighting a spirit, but a powerful, physical knight. She evades the relentless assault, demanding to know why she's being targeted as the knight ignores her comrades. Erisha's eyes widen in disbelief as the knight's movements defy her expectations. The dark knight suddenly changes targets, brutally striking down one of the other guardians. Its attention immediately snaps back to Erisha, raising its weapon for a devastating overhead blow. A bead of sweat rolls down her face as she steels her resolve, preparing for a desperate counterattack. A strange power awakens in her eyes, signaling a dramatic shift in the battle's momentum. She unleashes a blindingly fast strike, her blade glowing as it cuts deep into the armored figure. The force of her attack is overwhelming, slicing through the knight's defenses with ease. Splattered with the knight's blood, she stands frozen in confusion, unable to comprehend what just happened. As the knight's body falls, she realizes with dawning horror that her opponent was not a monster, but a human. The scent of fading life triggers her past trauma, reminding her of the heavy weight of taking a human life. Arisha's face contorts in horror as she questions if she has just taken a human life. Her mind flashes back to the knight's furious roar as it lunged to attack. She remembers her own panicked denial while trying to evade the brutal assault. A voice cuts through her traumatic memory, urging her to break free from her shock. Korin suddenly appears, calmly telling a stunned Arisha that her opponents are not human. He effortlessly dispatches another foe, explaining they are merely corpses animated by dark magic. Korin internally recalls that the original story's main objective was to defeat the serial killer from the City of Mist. He knows that by choosing this specific mission, the game's narrative has been drastically altered. In this new timeline, the party instead stumbles upon the infamous murderer, John Doe. During their quest, a terrifying, cloaked figure with glowing red eyes emerges from the mist, its presence signaling the arrival of the true threat. A surviving guardian cries out in terror, unable to comprehend the monstrous entity before them. Korin calmly tells a stunned Arisha to prepare to run, taking charge of the situation himself. He unleashes his fourth ultimate spear technique, Mountain Destroyer, launching a powerful strike at the cloaked figure. The attack connects with immense force, slamming the enemy into a distant tree with a thunderous impact. The figure slumps over, seemingly defeated in one hit, leading the other guardian to a moment of false hope. Korin knows it's not over, as the real John Doe's voice echoes, praising him for destroying a mere puppet before retreating. He recalls that John Doe's true power isn't strength, but a special trait of absolute concealment. The defeated puppet suddenly erupts into a thick, crimson haze, startling the remaining party members. Korin instantly recognizes the cursed mist, knowing it's designed to automatically explode. He realizes the puppet was just a trigger-an undead mage sacrificed to unleash this deadly trap upon them. Korin realizes John Doe's tactic is to use puppets as diversions while he remains perfectly hidden. He immediately leads the retreat, urging his teammates to escape the rapidly expanding cursed mist. Arisha questions abandoning his valuable spear, but Korin confidently states he has it under control. A magical rune of return glows brightly on the spear's pommel, deep within the crimson haze. The enchanted weapon shoots out of the mist like a missile, flying straight back to its master. Korin casually catches his returning spear mid-run, leaving Arisha momentarily stunned by its power. Their escape is cut short when a cry of pain from their last remaining comrade makes Arisha turn back. The other guardian, Charlie, has tripped and fallen directly in the path of the encroaching danger. Without a second thought, both Korin and Arisha leap back towards their fallen teammate. Arisha grabs Charlie's hand to save him, but he frantically tries to warn her of another imminent threat. Arisha looks up in confusion as a massive, crimson tendril materializes behind her. The cursed mist suddenly ensnares Arisha, yanking her into the air as Korin watches in frustration. Korin shoves Charlie forward, ordering him to escape the forest and leave his robe behind. Without hesitation, Korin dons the robe and charges headfirst back into the deadly crimson haze. He grits his teeth, remembering his past life where this very mist nearly claimed him. But this time is different. He's confident his new regeneration ability will give him the edge he needs. Korin knows Arisha is the priority, as the mist tendrils are already draining her life force. The cursed tendrils dig deep into Arisha's shoulder, causing her to bleed profusely. She desperately slashes at her restraints, but her blade fails to leave even a scratch. As the tendrils tighten their grip, she trembles, questioning if her strength or technique is failing her. Her bloody hand slips from her sword as she concludes that her efforts are simply pathetic. A memory flashes of her formidable mentor, whose disappointed gaze seems to loom over her. Defeated, Arisha lets her blade fall, the weapon disappearing into the swirling crimson haze. She resigns herself to her fate, convinced that she is simply too weak to overcome this trial. Closing her eyes, she silently apologizes to her savior as the tendrils tighten their grip. She recalls her dream of protecting others, a goal born from the time she herself was rescued. A memory surfaces of Korin tending to her wounds, fueling her desire to become someone worthy of his help. Suddenly, a desperate shout of her name cuts through the mist, causing her to flinch in surprise. Her eyes snap open with dawning recognition as she identifies the owner of the voice. A familiar silhouette emerges from the blinding light, signaling the dramatic arrival of her rescuer. Korin emerges from the light, his silhouette a beacon of hope for the trapped Arisha. Arisha stares in disbelief as Korin, covered in injuries, desperately reaches for her. The sight of her savior reignites a flicker of hope within her despairing heart. He charges through the deadly haze, grabbing her arm and pulling her from the tendrils' grasp. Arisha breaks down, confessing her inability to fight the tendrils and her fear of death. Korin calmly places a hand on her head, his steady presence cutting through her panic. He firmly guides her hand back to her sword, explaining her failure was due to panic, not weakness. As more undead knights emerge from the mist, Korin tells her to prepare for the real fight. She protests, claiming the mist has drained her strength and left her too dizzy to fight. His unwavering gaze conveys his complete confidence in her ability to succeed. He grips her shoulders, insisting she has more raw talent with a sword than anyone he has ever known. With a fierce look, Korin challenges her to take just one more step forward, believing it's all she needs. A single tear escapes her eye as his powerful words finally break through her wall of despair. Trusting her completely, Korin dashes alone into the horde of undead, leaving her to face her own trial. Arisha contemplates the grim reality that if even Korin can't last long, her own chances are slim. But fueled by his faith in her, she clenches her fist, refusing to surrender or let him down. Her eyes blaze with renewed purpose as she prepares to unleash her true, hidden power. She recalls her grandfather's secret skill, a technique that requires awakening an ability called the Watching Eye. Her perception shifts into a cosmic void, revealing a cursed talent that allows her to see the domain itself. Within this mental space, she closes her eyes and focuses, preparing to activate the legendary power within her. Echoing Korin's words, Arisha prepares to take the single most important step of her life. As her foot touches the ground, a wave of pure energy ripples through the cursed space. She unleashes the legendary Aiden style, her eyes glowing with immense power. A single, sweeping slash of blue light bisects every undead knight in the domain. This is the ultimate technique, the domain slash, an attack that cuts reality itself. Her single strike clears the entire battlefield, protecting Korin as he fights on. A stunned Jondo can only watch in disbelief as his perfect domain is undone. The cursed dimension shatters around him, unable to withstand her incredible power. Reality reasserts itself, revealing a forest of trees perfectly severed by her blade. With the mist completely gone, Arisha lands as the last of the puppets disintegrate into dust. Charlie and the other students finally arrive, bewildered by the scene of devastation. They spot the defeated form of Jondo, recognizing the notorious serial killer of the City of Mist. Charlie marvels at the cleanly sliced forest, while another student identifies the technique as the legendary domain slash. Korin is utterly floored, never imagining Arisha could already wield such an ultimate skill. A beaming Arisha proudly announces her success to Korin, completely unaware of the chaos she's caused. The other students erupt in discussion, realizing her feat makes her the undisputed heir to the House of Aiden. The crowd begins to chant her name, hailing her as the next Grand Swordmaster. Much to Korin's dismay, he can only grimace, realizing his simple plan has spiraled into a major political incident. News of Arisha's spectacular feat spreads rapidly, with headlines questioning the future of the House of Aiden. Elsewhere, a rival heir candidate seethes with rage, tearing the news of Arisha's triumph to shreds. The furious rival, Lunia, coldly orders her attendants to clean up her mess. She calmly sips her tea, a stark contrast to her rage. As the narrative explains the ruthless hierarchy of the House of Aiden, the story flashes back to the legendary Grand Swordmaster, Galland Aiden, whose power was so absolute that everyone awaited his successor. Galland himself longed for the day he would find an heir truly worthy of his blade. His granddaughter, Lunia, trained relentlessly, her calloused hands a testament to her desperate ambition. Yet, despite being hailed as a prodigy, even she could not meet the Grand Swordmaster's expectations. Then a new challenger appeared, her younger, illegitimate sister, Arisha, who was just beginning her training. Lunia had never once considered the timid young girl to be a threat to her position. But during a sparring match, the two sisters crossed swords, setting the stage for a fateful confrontation. In that moment, Arisha's eye flashes with a nascent power, revealing the first glimpse of her legendary talent. Lunia is completely stunned as her sister's blade meets hers with unexpected force. The non-lethal spar takes a shocking turn as Lunia is grievously wounded. Lying on the floor, a dazed Lunia stares up at Arisha, utterly bewildered by her own defeat. She processes the horrifying truth that she never even saw her sister move. Arisha's glowing eyes confirm the impossible. She had struck Lunia down before she could even react. Lunia realizes it wasn't superior speed, but that Arisha had instinctively stepped into the legendary domain. Rage consumes her as she questions how this lazy, untalented girl could wield such an ultimate skill. Her mind struggles to accept the reality of her humiliating defeat at her sister's hands. In stark contrast, a horrified Arisha insists she never meant to cause such a severe wound. Lunya finally grasped the twisted, demonic nature of the talent their grandfather truly desired. Her grandfather declares the young Arisha an official heir candidate, ignoring all opposition. Lunya remembers a time when she would comfort her neglected half-sister, who was just excited to hold a sword. In the present, she sips her tea, the memory of that past affection now feeling distant and meaningless. Her attendants sense her dark mood and cautiously inquire about her well-being. Lunya calmly tells her worried followers that there is no need for them to fret. With a chilling smile, she reveals she had been hoping Arisha would finally step into the domain. Lunya believes witnessing her sister's ultimate technique will help her achieve her own breakthrough. She stands and orders her followers to prepare for a ceremony known as the breaking of the sword. Elsewhere, Korin visits a recovering Arisha, who assures him she'll be fine in a few days. Lying in bed, Arisha cheerfully offers him a piece of candy. Completely unfazed by the recent events, Korin presses Arisha for the secret behind her domain / knowing it shouldn't have been possible. A blushing Arisha credits her success entirely to Korin's faith in her. Her simple answer leaves Korin comically aghast, lamenting how her genius makes his hard work feel pointless. Their conversation is suddenly interrupted by a knock at the door. A blue-haired girl bursts in, frantically checking on Korin's well-being. Korin identifies the visitor as Marie, who then formally introduces herself to Arisha. He correctly guesses that Marie came to see Arisha, who seems pleased by the visit. Marie admits she was deeply worried, her gentle touch causing Arisha to blush. Her demeanor shifts instantly as she glares at Korin, demanding to know the nature of his relationship with Arisha. Before he can answer, yet another knock at the door draws everyone's attention. A new girl suddenly appears upside down outside the window, startling Arisha with a demand for lunch. The sudden arrival makes both Korin and Marie jump, with Korin realizing her bizarre entrance would unnerve anyone. Marie's demeanor darkens as she asks Korin about having lunch with the newcomer, revealing a flash of jealousy. He quickly diffuses the tension by inviting Marie to a lovely spot for lunch, causing her to blush. Korin suddenly realizes he's surrounded by the Academy's top stars, and a new plan begins to form in his mind. He snaps back to reality, warning a frantic Arisha that Lunya will now challenge her through the breaking of the sword. Ceremony. The narrative explains the ceremony is a brutal tradition used by the House of Aiden to legally eliminate political rivals. Overwhelmed with fear, Arisha cries, certain she'll be killed by Lunya's 5 masters in the upcoming duel. Korin reveals he has a potential solution, offering it to a desperate Arisha on one condition, which she instantly accepts. He lays out his terms with a piercing glare. She must obey his every command for training and be slain, binding them as a party. A desperate Arisha swears total obedience while Marie and the other girl stare at the unfolding drama. With her oath given, Korin's inner voice confirms that her pledge of loyalty has been accepted. He then has a moment of dramatic introspection, reflecting on a hard-learned lesson from his life. Meanwhile, one of Lunya's masters patrols a dark street as Korin's monologue reveals his golden rule. Her patrol is violently interrupted by a surprise attack, forcing her to react in shock. A shadowy figure steps forward, identifying himself only as a challenger. The master is stunned as her mysterious opponent continues to approach. She finally recognizes her attacker as Warren, who introduces herself as a master from Arisha's new training hall. Warren immediately lunges, leaving the master baffled by the sudden and aggressive challenge. The master is left utterly speechless when Warren reveals her simple motivation, a promise of sushi from Korin. Warren's blade clashes violently against the master's, pushing her back with overwhelming force. The master desperately blocks the furious onslaught, unable to comprehend the sudden ambush. Elsewhere, Korin challenges another of Lunya's masters, Rina, stating his belief that offense is the ultimate defense. With a demonic grin and glowing eyes, he prepares to unleash his power, calling it the golden rule of life. The narrative introduces Korin Luku as a warrior from Arisha's new training hall. Much to Rina's shock, Warren is also formally presented as a master of the paring knife technique for Arisha's side. The third challenger is revealed as Doran Worski, a master of the flying sword technique. A flustered but determined Marie Dinaref is introduced as the master of the Gondolf technique. Finally, Arisha Aiden is named the supreme master of her own newly formed training hall. The result is a clean sweep, as all 5 of Lunya's elite masters are shown utterly defeated. The defeated master staggers to her knees, demanding to know the reason for Korin's ruthless attack. With a wicked snicker, Korin reveals it was all a publicity stunt to make their new training hall famous. His plan worked perfectly. As the Mercana Times newspaper announces the shocking defeat of the Five Blades, headlines spread like wildfire, celebrating the new hall's victory and casting doubt on the main house's power. Erish's grandfather reflects on the breaking of the sword, admitting it's a tool to crush rising competitors. Erisha remembers Korin's declaration to dismantle this corrupt system from the inside. Their strategy was to challenge each of Lunya's masters individually, under the guise of a new training hall's debut. Now, Erisha stands ready for what she truly wanted, a direct confrontation with her sister, Lunya. She glances at Lunya, recalling Korin's assurance that this public victory would grant her temporary immunity. Erisha cries with gratitude, realizing Marie's immense wealth funded their entire operation, hoping she can one day pay her back. Lunya suddenly appears before startled Erisha, commenting on her recent activities. With an intimidating glare, Lunya deduces that this entire scheme wasn't Erisha's own creation. She correctly names Korin as the true mastermind, who is caught eavesdropping in a panic. As Korin frantically signals from the sidelines, Erisha can only flinch in fear before her sister. Overcoming her fear, Erisha begins to formally challenge Lunya as the master of her new hall. Lunya's expression hardens as she listens to the formal request for a duel against her. She calmly accepts the challenge but adds a grim condition to their friendly duel. Lunya declares they will use real blades, and a terrified Erisha agrees to the life-or-death terms. The principal disciple of the Aiden style, Lunya, readies her blade with cold resolve. Erisha, a second-tier knight, takes her stance, preparing to finally end the battle between the sisters. Marie internally doubts her own strength, admitting that even as a vampire, she might not be a match for Lunya. She voices her worries to Korin, who calmly expresses his complete faith in Erisha's ability to win. Marie's trust in Korin is so absolute that her mood instantly lifts, keeping his credit rating with her at its peak. Meanwhile, Lunya casually tosses a heavy pouch of coins toward Korin. He catches the pouch, questioning its purpose as it clinks in his hand. Lunya cryptically declares the money is for reconstruction, not just repairs. Before lunging into action, the sisters' blades meet in a blinding flash, the impact sending shockwaves through the hall. Their duel unleashes a devastating explosion of energy that engulfs the entire room. Korin and Marie can only stare in horror as the sheer force of the attack overwhelms them. The powerful strike tears through the building itself, causing the structure to crumble around them. Amidst the wreckage, Lunya presses her advantage, her blade screeching against Erisha's as she holds her sister at bay. Erisha's mind flashes back to a time when she deeply admired Lunya, viewing her older sister as an idol. She remembers hearing tales of Lunya's legendary skill, a prodigy who was seen as a hero straight out of a fairy tale. In contrast, Erisha saw herself as a mistake, but still ran eagerly to greet her sister upon her return. Lunya's response was a simple, silent pat on the head, a rare moment of acknowledgement. This small gesture made the young Erisha blush with happiness, cherishing her sister's brief attention. However, the memory darkens, shifting to the day Erisha first seriously injured someone in a fight. She recalls the overwhelming horror and despair, believing that single event was the moment her life went wrong. Back in the present, Lunya channels a formidable blue energy, preparing to launch another devastating attack. Erisha focuses intently, remembering Korin's precise instructions on how to counter her sister's opening move. Erisha deflects the blow, catching Lunya completely off guard with an unexpected defensive move. Korin's plan unfolds, banking on Lunya's rigid style being unable to counter Erisha's tricky, unconventional tactics. Their blades meet again in a furious exchange, but this time Erisha holds her ground with newfound confidence. Erisha skillfully slides away to regroup, earning a taunt from Lunya about her supposed cowardice. Ignoring the jab, Erisha recalls Korin's advice to leverage her speed and close the distance. She explodes into motion, dashing across the ruined hall in a blur of blue light. Erisha unleashes the Thunder Advancement technique, moving with lightning-fast strikes to overwhelm her sister. In a dizzying whirl, she bypasses Lunya's guard, her eyes glowing with fierce resolve. She executes a perfect counter, a technique designed to turn the tables on a superior opponent. For the first time, Lunya reels back in shock, completely stunned by Erisha's successful strike. Lunya's eye widens in pure disbelief, her perfect composure finally shattered. Instead of another sword strike, Erisha slams her body into Lunya, a completely unexpected physical assault. The sisters tumble across the floor in a chaotic grapple, disrupting Lunya's formal stance. Recovering with furious speed, Lunya's aura flares as she glares down at her sister. She retaliates with a powerful kick, berating Erisha for her foolish tactics. Erisha grunts in pain as the heavy blow lands squarely against her. Lunya leaps over her down sister, scoffing at the idea that mere tricks could defeat her. Arisha desperately parries the follow-up attack, their blades locking in a fierce struggle. Pushing back, Arisha prepares to execute the next phase of their plan, a technique called falling proof. She thinks with grim satisfaction that everything is unfolding exactly as Korn predicted. Arisha unleashes a flurry of consecutive strikes, her blade hammering against Lunya's guard. A flicker of surprise crosses Lunya's face, acknowledging Arisha's refusal to go down without a fight. But Lunya easily counters, dismissing the technique as incompetent before landing a punishing kick. Arisha skids across the floor, grimacing in pain as she struggles to regain her footing. Not giving her a moment's rest, Lunya soars into the air, preparing a devastating overhead strike. Gritting her teeth, Arisha meets the attack head-on, her blade erupting in blue light as it blocks the blow. The sisters are locked blade to blade, Lunya's superior strength clearly forcing Arisha back. Steel grinds against steel as Lunya presses her attack, her face a mask of furious determination. A look of desperation crosses Arisha's face as she realizes her sister is adapting and closing the skill gap. But just as Lunya gains the upper hand, Arisha's perception shifts, her glowing eye beginning to see the domain itself. A predatory grin spreads across Lunya's face, revealing she's been waiting for this side of Arisha to emerge. She parries another strike, internally celebrating the unleashing of her sister's long-buried, ferocious talent. Arisha pants heavily, her hands throbbing with pain as she struggles to keep her grip on the sword. With a sharp look, she realizes this battle won't be decided by a few simple moves, but by a single, decisive moment. Lunya smirks, acknowledging her sister's epiphany and preparing to escalate the fight in kind. Her body thrums with the dark blue energy as she takes a powerful, grounded stance. Lunya issues a direct challenge, her voice echoing as she calls her sister's name with newfound intensity. Arisha meets her gaze, her own aura flaring as she prepares to face her sister's full power. Soaring through the air, Lunya reflects on how she has always been the ultimate benchmark for her younger sister. A flashback reveals a young Arisha, whose entire journey with the sword began with the goal of reaching her legendary sister. Her childhood dream was simple, to become a brave and cool knight, the spitting image of her idolized sister. But in the present, that childhood admiration has curdled into a deadly rivalry, their auras clashing violently. Lunya's eyes narrow, glowing with a terrifying blue light as she prepares to end the fight. She channels her power into her blade, which hurtles forward to meet Arisha's in a decisive clash. Their powers collide, erupting in a cataclysmic explosion of light that obliterates the view. The name of the technique is revealed as Domain Slash, a devastating beam that sends Arisha hurtling through the air. The resulting shockwave blasts across the room, leaving Arisha motionless on the floor. Her allies watch in stunned disbelief, questioning if the battle has already reached its brutal conclusion. The dust begins to clear, revealing a lone figure standing tall as the narration declares the battle has ended. A single victor stands silhouetted against the light, casting a long shadow over her defeated opponent.